Chapter 466. Jiang Xi understood that even if he had the authority to exchange supreme-grade immortal stones in the treasure pavilion, he wouldn't be able to afford it. He calculated his current net worth: 1. Purple Heaven Sect points, 617,912 points. 2. Celestial Gold Stone, 800,000 points. 3. Daybreak Flower, 2,000,000 points. 4. Tao Pattern Blood Crystal, 14,568 pieces worth approximately 145 million points. Purchase price: 10,000 points per piece. Together with the other miscellaneous items, he should have 150 million points. 1 point equals 100 Supreme Grade Spirit Stones. 1 Supreme Grade Immortal Stone equals 10 billion Supreme Grade Spirit Stones. Conversion: 1 Supreme Grade Immortal Stone equals 100 million points. In other words, if he sold all these, he would get 5 Supreme Grade Immortal Stones. In addition, he had a Supreme Grade Immortal Artifact, the Red Heaven Sword, which was worth about 10,000 Supreme Grade Immortal Stones. Even so, it was still 100 million times less than the 1 trillion Supreme Grade Immortal Stones he needed. It was useless. Moreover, the things he had, such as the Daybreak Flower and the Tao Pattern Blood Crystal, were all priceless treasures. Unless he had no other choice, he wouldn't sell them. Do I really have to hunt down immortal Tao experts? Jiang Xi frowned and pondered. His actual combat strength was at most comparable to a late-stage Tao integration realm cultivator. It was still too early for him to hunt down immortal Tao experts. Little Jiang, I think you're going down a dead end. Anai Shang's voice sounded in his mind. Huh! Jiang Xi was confused. With your current strength, it's impossible for you to completely refine the heaven-reaching tower. It's an ultimate treasure of the origin. Generally, only Tao Lord level experts are qualified to refine and use it. Anai Shang explained. Tao Lord? Jiang Xi smacked his lips. There were less than 50 Tao Lord level experts in the entire human race. It was too far away. Of course, as I said before, even 1,000th of the heaven-reaching tower's power can easily kill a 9th tribulation transcender. There are 99 seals in the heaven-reaching tower. If you refine the first seal, you should be able to use this power. Anai Shang added. Jiang Xi immediately understood why Anai Shang said he was going down a dead end. His idea just now was to completely refine the heavenly tower. Actually, there was no need for this at all. He only needed to refine the first layer of the seal of Heavenspan Pavilion, and then he would have the strength to hunt down immortal Tao experts. But Sister Anai Shang, even if it's just the first seal, it's still very difficult to refine. Even if we don't hunt immortal Tao experts, we'll still need a lot of top-grade immortal stones. Jiang Xi sighed. I told you that you're going down a dead end. Anai Shang chuckled and asked. Think about what I said before. After an immortal Tao expert dies, the immortal qi in his body doesn't dissipate. Jiang Xi's eyes lit up as he grasped the main point. In other words, we only need the corpses of immortal cultivators. You told me before that the human race and the other races in the universe have been having a race war in the extraterritorial battlefield. Actually, this is an opportunity, Anai Shang said with a smile. If I go now, I'll just be throwing my life away. Jiang Xi shook his head. Idiot, I didn't ask you to go to the battlefield. Anai Shang snorted and continued. Although the corpses of immortal Tao experts are not as strong as those godfiends from the godfiend era, they still won't be able to die at least 100 million years ago. However, at the very least, it could ensure that the corpse would not decay for 1,000,000 years after death. The immortal power within the corpse would more or less be preserved. The stronger they are or the shorter the time they died, the more immortal qi will be preserved in the corpses. Also, according to my estimation, the immortal Tao experts who died in the war will be dealt with by each race. Do you understand now? Jiang Xi nodded. If he still didn't understand, then there would be a problem with his IQ. Since it was a race war that lasted for countless years, there would definitely be a large number of immortal Tao experts who died. These were resources. He used the Eye of Heaven to search for the keywords, extraterritorial battlefield plus immortal Tao expert corpses. Soon, secret information appeared in the 3D image in front of him. This was the authority of his Purple Heaven sect level 4 core disciple. He definitely wouldn't have been able to find it in the past. After the immortal Tao experts of the human race and the vassal races die, their corpses will be buried in their hometowns or the land of reincarnation. The fallen immortal Tao experts of the enemy races will also be transported to the land of reincarnation for research, sale, or destruction. The land of reincarnation is located between the Tao domain, the Sword domain, and the Purple Heaven domain. It is equivalent to a small star domain. Jiang Xi sorted out the information and summarized these 3 important pieces of information. At first glance, they were all transported to the land of reincarnation. However, the fallen immortal Tao experts of the human race and the vassal races were buried there. For example, the fallen immortal Tao experts of the demon race, ghost race, demon race, and other enemy races would be brought to the land of reincarnation. If they had value, they would be used for research. If they had no value, they would be sold or destroyed. The word sell made Jiang Xi very happy. Since they can be sold, there must be a channel. However, these are the corpses of immortal Tao experts after all. If they have no value, it doesn't mean that they are cheap. He then searched for information on the sale of tribulation transcended demon corpses in the Purple Heaven sect's treasury. Because the bodies of demons were generally stronger, after becoming immortals, the immortal chi in their bodies would be even greater. The results of the search were similar to Jiang Xi's expectations. 10 ninth tribulation demon corpses, 1 million points. If there is enough immortal chi left, about 109th tribulation demon corpses can guarantee that you will be able to refine the first seal of the heaven-reaching tower. And Ai Shang reminded him. Jiang Xi's eyelids twitched. He felt that the level of contact he had was getting higher and higher. He had even started to use 9th tribulation demon corpses as a unit of measurement. One had to know that his master, the Wine Sword Immortal, was also at this level. 109th tribulation demon corpses still require 10 million points. I can only get that much if I sell some Tao pattern blood crystals. Let's ask Master first and see if he has any cheap channels. Jiang Xi thought for a while and contacted the Wine Sword Immortal. Of course, in order not to expose the situation on Earth, he chose to use voice transmission. After the transmission went through, the Wine Sword Immortal told him. The military elders of the Purple Heaven sect in the various star zones are in charge of training the cultivator army and fighting outside. They have a better relationship with the land of reincarnation. Jiang Xi smiled. His master had given him a clear path. It just so happened that Immortal Chen Hu owed him a favor. It was time to return it. He didn't delay. After informing Jiang Daodu, he left Earth on the same day. Blue Planet, East Pole Island. Jiang Xi came to the military palace of the Purple Heaven sect's Blue Planet branch and found Immortal Chen Hu. Elder Jiang Xi? Immortal Chen Hu was a little surprised when he saw Jiang Xi. At the same time, he heaved a sigh of relief. This was because Riverward had left without saying a word some time ago, and had even concealed his whereabouts. In the eyes of the 3 elders, Jiang Xi must have gone to the various star systems to investigate the situation of the 3 major departments. Because of this, they had been worried all this time. I have something to discuss with Elder Chen Hu, Jiang Xi said. Immortal Chen Hu's heart skipped a beat. Was Jiang Xi going to target him first? Chapter 467. Seeing Jiang Xi's faint smile, Immortal Chen Hu's heart sank. However, he also had his doubts. It hadn't even been a month, and Jiang Xi had already found the key evidence? The 3 elders were the officials of the Purple Heaven sect. Although they were only 4th tribulation transcenders, they had a high position. Ordinary small evidence couldn't bring them down unless there was major evidence. Immortal Chen Hu said in a deep voice. Elder Jiang Xi, what's the matter? After all, he was an immortal who had lived for 10 to 20,000 years. His mental fortitude wasn't bad, and he didn't show any abnormalities. When Riverwood saw this, he immediately understood something. Immortal Chen Hu was feeling guilty. Haha, I came this time to ask Elder Chen Hu for help. Jiang Xi stated his purpose and didn't beat around the bush. Immortal Chen Hu's mood immediately relaxed. He said with a smile, Elder Jiang Xi, what's the matter? You helped me settle Lu Chuan's trouble last time, so I still owe you a favor. Jiang Xi nodded. He liked to talk to people who were straightforward. There was no need to beat around the bush. Then I'll be direct. I have a friend who studies the path of puppetry. Recently, he needs to buy a batch of monster or ghost corpses. You are an elder in charge of external operations, so you should have some channels in this regard. Monster or ghost corpses? What level? Immortal Chen Hu asked. He didn't doubt Jiang Xi's words because some experts who cultivated the path of puppetry did need to study corpses to improve their realm. Jiang Xi smiled and said, Tribulation Transcender. The higher the cultivation, the better. It's best if it's a monster. Tribulation Transcender corpses? Your friend's realm in the path of puppetry isn't low. Immortal Chen Hu's eyes widened in surprise. This was because there were very few people who cultivated the path of puppetry. Jiang Xi smiled. Immortal Chen Hu shook his head and didn't continue asking. He knew that Jiang Xi definitely wouldn't say. He continued, Your friend wants to buy the corpses of these powerhouses of other races. If it's only through the channels of the sect, the price will naturally be very high. Because it was the normal price, there was no discount. Since Elder Jiang Xi asked me for help, he definitely knows about the land of reincarnation. Jiang Xi nodded slightly. Immortal Chen Hu wasn't too surprised and said in a low voice, There are many human race immortal Dao experts stationed in the land of reincarnation because it is the habitat of our human race's heroic spirits. Apart from that, the corpses of the alien race experts, or the remains of their treasures would be sent to the land of reincarnation for research or sale. However, you know that some people like to break the rules and use all sorts of shady methods. They use their own powers or bribe the land of reincarnation guards to take away large amounts of corpses without spending a single cent. Immortal Chen Hu was filled with righteous indignation and denounced such corrupt behavior. Jiang Xi's heart skipped a beat. The content of Immortal Chen Hu's words was similar to the information he had found. However, the meaning behind this seemed to be reminding me that I could obtain a large number of demon corpses without spending any money? Humph, these vermin only dare to obtain demon corpses below the Immortal Dao realm. Corpses above the Immortal Dao realm are all important resources. If anyone dares to be greedy and is found out, they will be punished by the Dao Alliance Heavenly Court and imprisoned until they die. Immortal Chen Hu added. Of course, if it's for cultivation, you can use money to buy them. We don't lack money, right? Immortal Chen Hu looked at Jiang Xi meaningfully. Jiang Xi couldn't be more familiar with this gaze. After all, he was also a big boss in the street stall world. Immortal Chen Hu was hinting that he could still do it as long as he didn't break the rules. Buy with money? 10 million points was money. 1 point was money too. The land of reincarnation has a total of 6 galaxies. There are large amounts of barren space there, and the area is comparable to a small star region. If Elder Jiang Xi wants to go, I happen to be good friends with an immortal Dao expert in one of the galaxies. You can contact him, and you won't get lost. Immortal Chen Hu hinted again. Thank you. Jiang Xi wasn't a stubborn person. Through the galaxy teleportation formation, one could directly teleport to the land of reincarnation. Jiang Xi's destination was one of the 6 galaxies in the land of reincarnation, the Forgotten Mountain system. This was a barren galaxy, and there were large amounts of cosmic dust and star fragments at the edge of the galaxy. There were many majestic palaces floating. In the galaxy near these palaces, there was a huge galaxy teleportation platform. On this day, the galaxy teleportation platform lit up with a dazzling light. Unlike other galaxy teleportation platforms, this one was specially guarded by a team of Dao integration stage soldiers. The leader of the soldiers was a cultivator at the peak of the Dao integration stage. He immediately surrounded the platform and waited. Because the land of reincarnation was a highly confidential place, Very few people knew about the transmission mark here, just like the Tao Alliance Heavenly Court and the 3 Sects 6 Sects. Therefore, this galaxy teleportation platform was rarely activated. After a moment, the light dissipated, and a figure appeared. It was in essence Soul Cultivator. All the soldiers relaxed a little. "Who are you? How dare you trespass on the land of reincarnation?" The soldier at the peak of the Tao integration stage shouted. "I am Jiang Xi from the Purple Heaven sect." Jiang Xi revealed his identity. Of course, it was not as simple as just saying. He had a special way to prove his identity. After the soldier at the peak of the Tao integration stage checked his identity, he immediately became extremely respectful and bowed with his subordinates. "Greetings, Elder Jiang Xi. Yes, take me to see Immortal Sun Yun." Jiang Xi nodded. Immortal Sun Yun was Elder Chen Hu's good friend. Elder Chen Hu had also told Jiang Xi about the transmission mark of the land of reincarnation. Because Jiang Xi was now qualified to know. "Elder Jiang Xi, please!" The soldier at the peak of the Tao integration stage led Jiang Xi to one of the palaces. During the flight, Jiang Xi carefully sized up the situation here. Then, he discovered that there was a large amount of cosmic dust and star debris within a radius of 50,000 kilometers. There might be even more in other places. This showed that it was impossible to accelerate to the speed of light in the land of reincarnation. In addition, this place was filled with an oppressive aura. If one's cultivation was not high enough, they might go crazy just by being here. Jiang Xi guessed that this should be because the land of reincarnation stored a large number of alien corpses. After flying in the starry sky for a while, he arrived in front of Immortal Sun Yun's palace under the lead of the soldier at the peak of the Tao integration stage. A soldier emitting the aura of a fourth tribulation transcender bowed to Jiang Xi. "Jiang Xi, Lord is waiting for you in the palace." Jiang Xi nodded lightly, not minding it at all. Although Immortal Chen Hu had already greeted him in advance, Immortal Sun Yun was a sixth tribulation transcender. He was not qualified for a sixth tribulation transcender to come out and greet him personally. Sending a fourth tribulation transcender was already a high standard. Chapter 468. Immortal Sun Yun's palace was a proper palace of a sixth tribulation transcender, and it covered an area of more than 60,000 square kilometers. After Jiang Xi entered, Immortal Sun Yun, who was originally sitting on the throne of the palace, quickly got off the throne and warmly welcomed Jiang Xi. Immortal Sun Yun laughed and said, "Haha, Jiang Xi, I've long heard that a peerless genius has appeared in the sect. Today, I finally get to see you. Greetings, Immortal Sun Yun." Jiang Xi's attitude was very respectful. At the same time, he sized up the other party. He had already learned about Immortal Sun Yun from Immortal Chen Hu. This sixth tribulation transcender also came from the Purple Heaven sect. Before becoming an immortal, he was only a core disciple of the first heavenly layer. After experiencing life and death in the foreign battlefield, he finally transcended the tribulation and became an immortal. His status was even higher than that of the third and fourth heavenly layers of the same generation as him. It could be said that he was a model of a comeback. After all, the first heavenly layer was the weakest among the core disciples of the Purple Heaven sect. There were very few people who could transcend the tribulation and become an immortal, let alone become a sixth tribulation transcender. Immortal Sun Yun was able to become one of the guardians of the land of reincarnation with his status as a sixth tribulation transcender. This also reflected his strength and status. Therefore, Jiang Xi didn't rely on his status to act arrogantly. "I heard from Chen Hu that you plan to buy the corpses of monsters at the Tribulation Transcender realm." Immortal Sun Yun faintly smiled. He was clearly very satisfied with Jiang Xi's attitude. "Yes, I happen to have a friend who cultivates the path of puppetry. He wants to use the corpses of monsters to conduct research." Jiang Xi's words didn't change. Immortal Sun Yun nodded and said, "Tell me how much you need. You're the disciple of Senior Wine Sword Immortal, and you've also talked to Chen Hu. I'll give you whatever convenience I can." Jiang Xi said, "I need 100 corpses of monsters at the 9th tribulation level." Immortal Sun Yun was clearly surprised. You need so many? Your friend's realm in the path of puppetry isn't low. Generally speaking, if one could use a corpse of a 9th Tribulation Transcender, their strength would be at least at the 7th Tribulation Transcender level. On the side, the 4th Tribulation Transcender who had brought Jiang Xi and looked at Jiang Xi in shock. This Jiang Xi is really crafty. The amount he wants is just the upper limit that can be approved by Sir. Jiang Xi only smiled. He didn't admit or deny it. Immortal Sun Yun did not pursue the matter. After pondering for a while, he smiled and said, 100 corpses of 9th Tribulation Demon Clan members are within the scope of my approval authority. There is no need to check with other guardians. Thank you, Senior, Jiang Xi said. Before he came, he had heard that the land of reincarnation was guarded by the 3 gates and 6 sects. Immortal Sun Yun was the representative of the Purple Heaven sect, and he was in charge of leading all the Immortal Dao experts from the Purple Heaven sect. The other 8 Immortal Dao sects also each had a representative who was at least a 6th Tribulation Transcender. Usually, if there were any major issues, the 9 representatives would negotiate with each other. Any representative could approve his business of buying 100 corpses of the 9th Tribulation Demon Clan in one go. If he wanted more, he would need to negotiate with all 9 representatives. After all, 100 corpses of the 9th Tribulation Demon Clan members were already worth 10 million points. Jiang Xi had specifically used his connections to come to the land of reincarnation in order to get a cheaper price. Therefore, he did not bother to be polite with Immortal Sun Yun, and directly asked, Senior Sun Yun, since I'm buying so many corpses at once, is it possible to get a cheaper price? Immortal Sun Yun gently smiled and shook his head. No. Jiang Xi frowned. If it was not possible to get a cheaper price, he might as well go to the Purple Heaven sect's treasure house and buy it. Immortal Sun Yun knew what Jiang Xi was thinking. He smiled and said, The price is a rule set by the Heavenly Court of the Tao Alliance. It has been in place for countless years, and no one can change it unless a true monarch comes. However, his tone kept changing. Jiang Xi raised his head and looked at Immortal Sun Yun. Was there a chance? Immortal Sun Yun's next words confirmed his guess. However, rules are dead, while people are alive. The price of 100 corpses of the 9th Tribulation Demon Clan members is indeed 10 million points, but the corpses are also divided by their quality. For example, some corpses can be more than 90% intact, while others can only be 30% intact. Another example is the difference in the bloodline of the Demon Clan. After ascending to immortality with royal bloodlines and ordinary bloodlines, the difference in their bodies is very obvious when calculating the price. It is calculated according to the price of one corpse. The actual value is 2 to 3 times, or even 5 to 6 times. Jiang Xi nodded slightly. He did not say the rest, but everyone understood what he meant. Low-grade corpses and superior-grade corpses had the same price. Immortal Sun Yun could give him all superior-grade corpses. In this way, it was equivalent to spending the same amount of money to buy something of higher value. Keep these 100 tokens well. Each one represents 10 corpses of the 9th Tribulation Demon Clan members. Immortal Sun Yun waved his hand, and 100 golden tokens with complicated symbols appeared in front of him. 100 tokens. That's 1,000 corpses. You're giving them all to me? Jiang Xi was stunned and envious. You think too much. The corpses of the 9th Tribulation Demon Clan members are sold in units of 10. These 100 tokens represent the best quality corpses of the 9th Tribulation Demon Clan members that the Forgotten Mountain Star System has collected over the past million years. What I mean is that you can choose from them and choose the best ones. Immortal Sun Yun shook his head. Many thanks. Jiang Xi chuckled. This was the benefit of using connections. I'll take you to the treasurer to pay first, and then I'll take you to choose the corpses. Immortal Sun Yun added. Jiang Xi nodded and then came to another palace. Although the land of reincarnation was jointly guarded by the 3 gates and 6 sects, it was nominally under the jurisdiction of the Tao Alliance Heavenly Court. Therefore, the money had to be transferred to the Tao Alliance Heavenly Court first. The treasurer who received the money was an old man in a Taoist robe whose cultivation level could not be seen clearly. Jiang Xi transferred 10 million points to the old man in the Taoist robe in front of immortal Sun Yun. These points were obtained by selling 1,000 Tao pattern blood crystals to the Purple Heaven sect. After receiving the money, the old man in the Taoist robe stared at Jiang Xi with a deep gaze. He was also very surprised. He did not expect Jiang Xi to be so rich. This was because many immortals below the sixth tribulation had to prepare for a long time to take out 10 million points in one go. Jiang Xi was only at the essence soul stage, but he could take it out so easily. I wonder if it's his own. Or the expert behind him who cultivates the Tao of puppetry gave it to him? Immortal Sun Yun speculated as he watched from the side. Then he smiled and said, "Let's go. I'll take you to where the demon corpses are stored." After completing this transaction, he would also receive a commission, so he was in a good mood. At the same time, an inconspicuous message was sent to the headquarters of a certain foreign intelligence organization after many transfers. After the intelligence organization decrypted the message, the specific content was as follows. After investigation, the number 10 target on the assassination list, the human Purple Heaven sex genius Jiang Xi, has already arrived at the land of reincarnation, the Forgotten Mountain star system. He also bought a 9th tribulation demon corpse worth 10 million points. According to speculation, he should stay in the Forgotten Mountain star system for the next month. Chapter 469. In the distant desolate galaxy, in a rarely known grotto heaven world. Dark clouds covered the sky, and wisps of blue flames danced on the ground. The entire world was suffused with an eerie aura. At the center of the world, the blue flames converged into the shape of Luhaiyang. A black mountain 1,000,000 kilometers tall stood in the middle of the blue ocean. At the peak of the mountain was an enormous palace built of white bones. A white-eyed woman flew into the white bone palace at an extremely fast speed. Although she was a 9th tribulation ghost immortal, she didn't dare recklessly barge into the palpitating palace. "I wish to see His Majesty," she said respectfully outside the palace. Only true monarchs of the ghost race were qualified to add the words, "Ghost King," to their names. The master of this palace was called the Third White Ghost King. "Enter!" A voice that seemed to come from beyond the heavens sounded. The white-eyed woman hurriedly entered the palace's main hall. In the main hall, a figure that looked like an evil spirit was surrounded by balls of dark blue flames. "What is it?" asked the Third White Ghost King. "Ghost King, according to our intelligence, Jiang Xi of the Purple Firmament sect has appeared in the accounts of the Forgetful Mountain Galaxy," the white-eyed woman reported respectfully. "Jiang Xi? Target number 10 on the assassination list?" The Third White Ghost King vaguely remembered him. The various races were carrying out assassination activities, and the targets of the assassination were those young geniuses with outstanding talent. Once a genius ascended to immortality, their strength would undergo an earth-shattering transformation. For example, Lu Yun, the genius of the sword school from 10 million years ago, had been number 1 on the assassination list. Once he ascended to immortality, he'd be able to overcome all 9 tribulations and become a true immortal powerhouse of the human race. When he went to the off-world battlefield, he'd be a threat to the other peak races. Although Jiang Xi wasn't as strong as Lu Yun, he'd definitely become a 9th tribulation transcender in a short time after ascending to immortality. He'd even have a chance to touch the threshold of Tao Immortal and become a threat to the other peak races. That was why he was number 10 on the assassination list. This is a good opportunity. In that case, let's awaken the 4th spy in the Forgetful Mountain Galaxy and take care of him once and for all, the Third White Ghost King decided. 4th spy? Your Highness, he's only at the nascent soul stage. Isn't this a little overkill? The white-eyed woman was very surprised. She was Bai San Ghost King's most trusted subordinate, so she dared to ask such a question. Due to the existence of the sky-piercing eyes, it was very difficult for the peak clans to plant spies in the human territory. Therefore, every spy was extremely precious. Especially experts like number 4. There were very few of them in the entire land of reincarnation. Don't underestimate target number 10. If it wasn't for the fact that he hasn't been training for a long time, he might even be in the top 5. Number 4 should be enough. White Third Ghost King explained. The white-eyed woman didn't ask any further. She hurriedly left the White Bone Palace to carry out her orders. In the land of reincarnation, in the desolate space of the Forgotten Mountain star system, large amounts of alien corpses and Dharma treasures floated. Some of them had been piled up for millions of years. After such a long time, the dead bodies of the aliens and the remnants of magical equipment stored in this galaxy were worth more than an entire space zone. Thus, in order to prevent theft, embezzlement, and other corruption, there were many surveillance points hidden in this galaxy. At this moment, there was a small space hidden inside an inconspicuous star fragment. In the space, a late-stage Tao integration cultivator in black armor was cultivating while observing the 3D illusion in front of him. The 3D illusion showed the situation within 100,000 kilometers. The man's eyes suddenly blurred, but he instantly sobered up. After 6,000 years of hiding, I finally have a mission? His expression was a little complicated. With a mission, it meant that he could finally realize his value. But at the same time, it also meant the end of his life. Because regardless of whether he could complete the mission or not, he couldn't escape death in the end. Even if he killed Jiang Xi and completed the mission, he would still be killed by the immortal Tao experts in the land of reincarnation. But this was his mission. After he was controlled by the ghost race's soul mystic technique, he was destined to have this fate. Then, the man left this surveillance point and entered the galaxy to patrol. His goal was obviously to find Jiang Xi. His action wasn't sudden because as a spy, he had the responsibility of patrolling the Forgotten Mountain star system. Jiang Xi followed Immortal Sun Yun and left the palaces at the edge of the Forgotten Mountain star system. The two of them stood in the air and looked at everything in front of them. These are the remains of war transported from the extraterrestrial battlefield. They are the true value of the land of reincarnation. Even compared to the 3,600 star zones of the Tao Alliance, our Forgotten Mountain star system's value is ranked at the top. Immortal Sun Yun said with a smile. His tone was obviously higher. Jiang Xi didn't say anything. He was indeed shocked. There were huge piles of alien race remains in front of him. They floated quietly in the galaxy like stars. They were densely packed and filled the entire galaxy. Most of them emitted the aura of Tao integration and above, and a few of them emitted the aura of the immortal Tao. These auras mixed together to form a strange aura that made people feel oppressed and solemn. Go in and buy it yourself. Fly forward for about 5 million kilometers and you will reach the location corresponding to the first golden token, Immortal Sun Yun said. Senior, you won't go in with me? Jiang Xi was surprised. Immortal Sun Yun shook his head. I can't go in because the items here are very valuable. To prevent theft, we immortal Tao experts are forbidden from entering. Oh? Aren't you worried that I'll steal some of the valuable goods? Jiang Xi smiled. Immortal Sun Yun raised an eyebrow and smiled. You are a core disciple of the Purple Firmament sect. I believe you won't steal for the sake of immediate benefits. If you are discovered to be stealing, you will be hunted down by the Tao Alliance, the Heavenly Court, and the 3 Gates and 6 sects. After saying that, he added, Moreover, there are a large number of hidden surveillance points in this starry sky. They basically cover the entire Forgotten Mountain star system. It's impossible to steal under their noses. Jiang Xi nodded. All right, then I'll go in. At the same time, within a group of palaces at the edge of the Forgotten Mountain star system. As one of the representatives of the 9 major immortal Tao sects in the Forgotten Mountain star system, Immortal Qiao Tu was entertaining an old friend who had come from afar. Immortal Qiao Tu looked like a young man with very little hair. He was naturally bald. Wu Yi, have you thought about the dark spirit crystal I mentioned to you last time? The other immortal in the hall was Immortal Wu Yi, a 6th tribulation transcendent from the Purple Firmament sect. Chapter 470. The underworld spirit crystal was produced in the ghost domain, and did not exist in the human domain. Upon hearing Immortal Qiao Tu's request, a smile appeared on Immortal Wu Ye's stiff face. he shook his head and said, "You are too late. I originally had some underworld spirit crystals, but they were all used up 600 years ago. If you want more, you can only wait until I go to the extraterritorial battlefield and see if I can get some from the ghost experts." "Oh? You have plans to enter the extraterritorial battlefield in the near future?" Immortal Chiao Tu was somewhat surprised. "A little fellow in the sect stole my opportunity. I want to wait for him to die first." Immortal Wu Ye's eyes turned cold. "Haha, the famous Immortal Wu Ye actually had your opportunity stolen?" Immortal Chiao Tu laughed out loud. "It was just a tease between friends. Humph, if not for Tao Lord Nine Firmament's decree, I would have taken it back long ago." Immortal Wu Ye said coldly. "Tao Lord Nine Firmaments." Immortal Chiao Tu's laughter came to an abrupt end. "That's right. 200 years ago, Tao Lord Nine Firmaments issued a decree." Immortal Wu Yi recounted what had happened. After Immortal Chiao Tu heard this, he laughed strangely. "Purple Firmament Sword Sutra. Forgive me for being blunt, but this kid called Jiang Ci is very lucky. If you want to wait for him to die, it won't be easy." Immortal Wu Yi did not mind and said, "After Tao unification, passing the tribulation to become an immortal is a difficult task. As long as he has yet to become an immortal, there is a possibility of him dying. Therefore, I still have a chance." Having said this, he paused and looked meaningfully at Immortal Chiao Tuesday. "There's one more thing that I think I should tell you. Jiang Ci is the disciple of Wine Sword Immortal." "Wine Sword Immortal!" Immortal Chiao Tu's eyes focused. His aura was like a ball of fire that suddenly exploded. "Then this Jiang Ci deserves to die even more." Jiang Ci went deep into the Forgotten Mountain star system alone. He rode a flying ship and roamed the starry sky. Although there was not enough space for him to accelerate to light speed, the flying ship's sublight speed was still many times faster than his own speed. The Forgotten Mountain star system had a diameter of several million light years and was traveling at a speed of 100,000 to 200,000 kilometers per second. If he didn't consider the time to stop and choose the goods, he would be able to walk through the entire Forgotten Mountain star system in about half a month. Immortal Sun Yun had given him 100 golden medallions, each of which represented 10 corpses of Ninth Tribulation great demons. However, the goods corresponding to the 100 golden tokens were not located in the same region. Instead, they were scattered across the vast expanse of space. The detailed location information en route were hidden in the golden token. One could know it with a sweep of their spiritual sense. The first golden token was located 5 million kilometers away. Soon, the flying boat crossed 3 million kilometers. The corpses of the alien races were scattered all over the starry sky, floating quietly in the starry sky like stars. The corpses here more or less exuded the aura of the immortal path. In other words, they were all at the tribulation immortal realm. However, these immortal Tao auras were a little abnormal. They had an obvious aura of death. This is because the immortal energy in the corpse has lost the control of the spiritual sense and is constantly dissipating. This made Jiang Ci very envious. His purpose in buying the corpses of the alien races was precisely for the immortal energy. Unfortunately, there were a large number of surveillance points hidden here. He didn't want to violate the Tao Alliance's Heavenly Court's ban for these alien corpses. The gains didn't make up for the losses. These are all alien corpses. Their bodies are indeed very large. Jiang Ci maintained his habit of being cautious and spread his spiritual sense around. At the same time, he could also detect the situation of the surrounding alien corpses. A common characteristic of the alien races was that their bodies were very strong. This was not only reflected in their strength, but also in their bodies that were many times larger than other races. For example, in the pile of corpses 3,000 kilometers away, there was a two-winged alien race. Although its corpse was badly damaged, its body was more than 300 kilometers long. "I'll go look for the corpses of Ninth Tribulation great demons later." Jiang Ci prepared to continue flying forward on the flying boat. At this time, an Aishan's voice sounded in his mind. "Little Jiang, stay close to those Tribulation Transcender corpses. Let me devour the immortal energy that is dissipating. What? Jiang Xi was stunned for a moment. Then, he was pleasantly surprised. Don't make a fuss. Even if you buy alien corpses, you will have to go through me to devour the immortal energy in those corpses. And Ai Shang smiled. Although she said that, Jiang Xi was still very happy. He flew the flying boat toward the pile of alien corpses 3,000 kilometers away. After approaching the corpses, he found that the immortal energy mixed with the death aura was even denser. This pile of alien corpses had already been sorted. They were all sixth tribulation great demons. When gathered together, they were more than 2,000 kilometers in diameter. In the next moment, an invisible devouring force appeared in Jiang Xi's heaven-reaching tower and devoured the immortal energy that was dissipating in the surroundings. And Ai Shang was controlling the heaven-reaching tower. Don't devour too much. It'll be bad if you're discovered, Jiang Xi reminded her in his mind. I know. Right now, the heaven-reaching tower is only recognized by you by blood. You haven't even unsealed the first seal, so the power you can use is very small. Even if I want to devour more, there's nothing I can do. And Ai Shang complained. Jiang Xi laughed dryly. Because the speed at which the heaven-reaching tower devoured immortal energy wasn't fast. The 10-6 tribulation great demons' corpses were continuously dissipating immortal energy. An hour later, Jiang Xi's spiritual sense clearly sensed that the immortal energy in these corpses had decreased by 1/10,000th. The heaven-reaching tower also stopped devouring. There are too many alien corpses like this in this space. Immortal energy of all levels is mixed together. It should be very difficult to discover that such a small amount is missing. Jiang Xi didn't leave immediately. After waiting for a while, the immortal energy that was continuously dissipating from the corpses. Like flowing water, it filled up the vacuum of immortal energy that he had just devoured. On the surface, it seemed that nothing had changed here. Only then did he feel at ease and leave on the flying boat. The Forgotten Mountain star system has a diameter of millions of light years. I wonder how many alien corpses of Tribulation Transcendent Realm cultivators are stored here. If I were to touch the corpses of all the Tribulation Transcender experts and devour 1/10,000th of their immortal strength, I wonder how many layers of sky-piercing tower seals I would be able to break? Then, with this kind of expectation, he specifically went to look for the Tribulation Transcendent alien corpses. Soon, Jiang Xi's strange behavior was discovered by a hidden surveillance point nearby. The person in charge of this surveillance point was also a black-armored soldier, but his cultivation level was at the late-stage Essence Soul realm. What is he doing? The black-armored soldier was full of doubts. Because no one who came to choose goods would be like Jiang Xi, who stayed at each corpse location for at least an hour. Start first, then change later. Chapter 471. After Jiang Xi left, the black-armored soldier in charge of monitoring the surrounding 10,000 kilometers came out from the hidden surveillance point. He checked the pile of monster corpses that Jiang Xi had just devoured. He didn't find any changes, so he left with doubts. An Essence Soul cultivator can come here to buy Tribulation Transcender monster corpses, so he must have an extraordinary background. It's very likely that he's a core disciple of one of the 9 major immortal Dao sects, but his behavior is very strange. The black-armored soldier thought for a while and finally reported the situation dutifully. In another part of the Forgotten Mountain Galaxy, the 4th ghost spy who had been activated was a late-stage Dao integration black-armored man. As usual, he drove a supreme-grade flying ship and patrolled aimlessly in the starry sky. When he was 100,000 kilometers away, a chuckle sounded in his ears. Hey Maggie, you've crossed the line. This is the area I'm monitoring. Be careful not to be discovered by the immortals above. You'll be punished then. The brawny man in black armor named Maggie also smiled. Hey, look at what this is. A 9-colored seal appeared in his hand. You actually have a commander-level seal. The person in charge of this surveillance point was shocked. What else? Maggie smiled and said, I don't have the guts to ignore the immortals' ban. The 9-colored seal was jointly refined by the representatives of the 9 major immortal Dao sects of the Forgotten Mountain Galaxy. Having the 9-colored seal meant that his status was the highest among all the surveillance points. He could jump out of his original surveillance area and patrol other areas. The black-armored brawny man, Maggie, had a calm look on his face. He chatted with the person who had warned him for a while before leaving. According to the mission information given by the higher-ups, Jiang Xi spent 10 million points to buy 9th Tribulation monster corpses this time. I just have to search these corpses and I'll find him. Maggie drove the flying ship and sped through the starry sky. Basically, the person in charge of every surveillance point would ask him why he had broken into other people's surveillance area. At first, he would explain patiently. Later, he felt annoyed and activated the 9-colored seal and placed it on the deck of the flying ship. Although this was very ostentatious, the effect was obvious. No one asked him similar questions again. Jiang Xi followed the instructions of the golden token to find the place where the corpses of the 9 Tribulations demon clan members were stored. At the same time, under the secret control of Ni Shang, the heaven-connecting tower in his body absorbed the immortal energy of every Tribulation transcended demon corpse along the way. After this process, the amount of time he could stay in the Forgotten Mountain star system had greatly increased. Originally, it would only take half a month to complete a round. Now, it would probably take a month. Due to his strange behavior, many of the people in charge of the surveillance stations along the way reported it. Immortal Sun Yun had specifically contacted him about this. The reason Jiang Xi gave him was that he was curious and wanted to study the demon corpses up close. Although Immortal Sun Yun didn't understand, he didn't suspect anything because he was sure that Jiang Xi wouldn't steal anything. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. On this day, Jiang Xi stopped the flying boat in front of a pile of corpses of 7th Tribulation great demons. His body emitted waves of devouring power. The immortal energy emitted from the corpses of the 7th Tribulation great demons was constantly devoured by the heaven-connecting tower. After half an hour, a hint of joy suddenly flashed in Jiang Xi's eyes. His spiritual sense vaguely felt that the heaven-connecting tower hidden in his body seemed to have some subtle changes. It was finally effective. It's still far from the first seal. The efficiency of the heaven-connecting tower devouring immortal energy is still too low. It's been half a month, and it hasn't even reached 1% of the first seal. Ni Shang ruthlessly attacked him. Then how powerful is the heaven-connecting tower now? Jiang Xi asked. It can barely kill a 3rd Tribulation transcender. Ni Shang answered. Jiang Xi nodded in satisfaction. Before this, the heaven-connecting tower could only deal with immortal Dao experts below the 3rd Tribulation. Dealing with and killing were two different things. Continue to work hard. Then, he devoured 1/10,000th of the immortal energy in the corpses of the 7th Tribulation great demons in front of him. More than 200,000 kilometers ahead, there's a golden token corresponding to the location of the goods. Let's go in that direction. I can take a look at the quality of the corpses of the 9th Tribulation great demons. Jiang Xi drove the flying boat away because the distance was not far. He did not choose to fly at sublight speed. He planned to harvest the corpses of the other Tribulation transcender monsters along the way. Just like this, he stopped and walked. Not long after, he was only 80,000 kilometers away from the location of the goods corresponding to the golden token. Not far ahead, there was a pile of 3rd Tribulation great demons' corpses. He stopped again. In the starry sky 100,000 kilometers away from Jiang Xi, the muscular black-armored man, McGee, also appeared in a flying boat. There's another pile of 9th Tribulation great demons' corpses ahead. I can wait here for a while. Maybe I can lock onto Jiang Xi's whereabouts. During this time, he had been searching for 9th Tribulation great demons' corpses in the Forgotten Mountain star system. Unfortunately, he did not encounter Jiang Xi at all. However, McGee had a premonition that he would soon complete his mission. Because a day ago, he learned from the person in charge of a monitoring point millions of kilometers away that Jiang Xi had appeared in the nearby starry sky. Although he did not understand why Jiang Xi had stayed near a pile of 1st Tribulation great demons' corpses for nearly an hour, he did not investigate further. As long as he could find Jiang Xi and kill him, everything would be fine. After arriving at the location where the ninth tribulation great demon's corpses were stored, McGee habitually spread out his spirit sense. The spirit sense of a late-stage Tao integration cultivator could easily cover a radius of 100,000 kilometers. In just a second, McGee's eyes lit up and were full of surprise. Found it! His spirit sense discovered that there was a location where the corpses of First Tribulation Great Demon's corpses were stored more than 80,000 kilometers away. At this time, Jiang Xi was hovering near that location. He did not know what Jiang Xi was doing. I can't be in a hurry. I have to deal with the monitoring point hidden nearby first. McGee still held a glimmer of hope that he could survive. The monitoring point was hidden and protected by a very advanced array formation boundary. Even Jiang Xi did not have the ability to discover it on his own. However, McGee had the 9-color seal, so this was not a problem for him. Therefore, he quickly found the monitoring point in this area. There were a total of 2 monitoring points, and the cultivation level of each person in charge was not high. They were respectively at the early stage and mid-stage Essence Soul realm. This is easy. McGee flew to one of the monitoring points hidden in a meteorite and lied that it was an inspection job. Because of the 9-color seal, the person in charge of the monitoring point did not suspect McGee and respectfully welcomed him in. This person in charge was only at the early stage Essence Soul realm and was no match for a late stage Tao integration cultivator at all. In addition, he trusted McGee, so his death did not cause any commotion. Chapter 472. The remaining late stage Essence Soul monitoring point supervisor was killed by McGee in the same way. Without the surveillance point, no matter what happened within the area of 100,000 kilometers, no one would be able to discover it. According to normal procedures, after losing contact with the monitoring point, it will be discovered by the higher-ups in about 30 seconds. Then, they will send someone to investigate this place, and it will take about another 30 seconds. In other words, I have 1 minute to kill Jiang Xi. If I can kill Jiang Xi within 30 seconds, then I will have a chance to escape this place. This is also the only chance to survive. However, the premise of all this is to kill Jiang Xi and complete the mission. McGee's thoughts turned quickly, and he instantly judged the current situation. At the same time, he drove the flying boat and flew toward Jiang Xi, who was 80,000 kilometers away. Because he had cultivated the secret Tao Seal technique, after breaking through to the Essence Soul stage, Jiang Xi's spiritual sense detection range had reached a radius of 60,000 kilometers, which was comparable to the mid-stage Tao integration. The detection range of his spiritual sense would increase with the increase of his cultivation level. His current cultivation level was still at the early stage Essence Soul stage. With the experience points panel, of course, he could raise his cultivation level to the perfected Essence Soul stage in a short time. However, after returning from the Purple Heaven sect headquarters, he had been busy solving the relationship problems of his brother, Xian Tian, and usually had to come into contact with a large number of immortal Tao powerhouses. If his cultivation level increased too quickly, it would easily arouse the suspicion of these immortal Tao powerhouses. Therefore, he did not immediately raise his cultivation level to the perfected Essence Soul stage. In his current situation, the actual combat strength of an early stage Essence Soul stage and a perfected Essence Soul stage was actually about the same. The only difference was the strength of his spiritual sense. According to Jiang Xi's plan, he was prepared to use 10 years to raise his cultivation level to the perfected Essence Soul stage. This speed of improvement would not be doubted by anyone. It was a little faster than the cultivation speed of a peerless genius, but not too fast. If he only used 10 days to half a month to raise his cultivation level, Purple Heaven sect would probably send someone to inquire about it on the same day. Of course, with Jiang Xi's identity and background, they would at most ask about it. There would be no danger to his life. Even so, he only wanted to be a normal genius and not a genius that everyone was watching. If he was being watched, there would be no secrets left. Not only would Earth be easily exposed, but the existence of the experience panel might also be exposed. Without the ability to protect himself, this was the real danger. What was the standard for self-protection? Jiang Xi already had an answer: Tao Lord. Only by having the combat power of a Tao Lord and standing at the very peak of power in the universe would one be able to ignore these dangers. This road was originally very long. Now that he had the prime treasure, the heaven-connecting tower, this path had been shortened. Once he completely bound the stone tower, he would be able to reach the Tao Lord level of combat power in advance. It would be great if I could take away all the corpses of the Tribulation Transcender Realm monsters in the galaxy. Jiang Xi stood in front of a pile of corpses of Third Tribulation great demons, and had this unrealistic thought. The heaven-span tower hidden in his body was still devouring the surrounding immortal power. He frowned and subconsciously looked into the distant starry sky. Of course, he couldn't see anything. However, within the range of his spiritual senses probing, a flying boat had intruded and was rapidly approaching him. Late-stage Tao integration stage? Judging from the black armor on his body, he should be someone from the nearby surveillance station. The 9-colored seal in his hand has the aura of immortal Sun Yun. Jiang Xi quickly made a judgment. In just a second, the flying boat arrived in front of Jiang Xi. The muscular man in black armor on the flying boat said to Jiang Xi, "I'm the commander of the surveillance station in the Forsaken Mountain star system. Please cooperate with the identity check." The 9-colored seal confirmed Maggie's identity, so Jiang Xi didn't have any doubts. He was about to take out his identity jade slip from his storage ring. In the next moment, Maggie, who was close by, suddenly attacked. A biting cold saber light cut through the starry sky and suddenly slashed toward Jiang Xi. Slash! Jiang Xi couldn't dodge in time and was sent flying by the saber. A 3-inch deep wound appeared on his shoulder. Assassin! What? Both of them were shocked at the same time. Jiang Xi was shocked that Maggie, who was in the late-stage Tao integration stage, could actually break through his body's defenses. This was the first time someone had been able to leave such a big wound on his body after his body had become 10 times stronger than a supreme-grade spirit weapon. Then, he realized that this person was an assassin. There are a lot of alien corpses in the Forsaken Mountain star system. If he dares to assassinate me in the land of reincarnation, he must be very confident. No matter what, I can't be careless. Jiang Xi's vigilance was at its highest. What shocked Maggie was that even with his strength, he couldn't kill Jiang Xi with one slash. Instead, he only left a 3-inch deep wound. This was ridiculous. His body is far stronger than a Tao integration stage cultivator. No wonder he's the 10th target on the assassination list. However, a strong body doesn't mean that his soul is also strong. Maggie slashed again. This time, the saber light carried a wisp of dim light and instantly attacked Jiang Xi. He was very fast, and the saber light was also very fast. Before Jiang Xi could react, the saber light landed on Jiang Xi's body. Buzz! Jiang Xi's spiritual sea rippled slightly. His primordial spirit, which had merged with the image of self-visualization, sat cross-legged on a lotus platform with 3 petals. It emitted a 4-colored light and easily dispelled Maggie's soul attack. Impossible! Maggie's expression changed drastically. He was confident that even a late-stage Tao integration stage cultivator like him wouldn't be able to block that attack. However, Jiang Xi wasn't affected at all. His body is far stronger than a Tao integration stage cultivator, and his soul is also so strong. If he has such strength, why is he only the 10th target? He's definitely one of the top 3 targets on the assassination list. Top 3. Why didn't the intelligence report mention this? Trash. A bunch of trash from the ghost race. Maggie had only used 2 moves and was already in despair. In fact, less than 10 seconds had passed, but Jiang Xi's strength made him understand that he had no chance of leaving alive. That's it. Jiang Xi looked at Maggie coldly. He felt a little strange. Wasn't the power behind this assassin too confident? A late-stage Tao integration stage cultivator wanted to assassinate him. If that's all you've got, then die. As he spoke, the red cloud sword vibrated slightly. Hundreds of sword Dao green lotuses appeared and condensed into wisps of sword chi. The majestic aura made Maggie, who was at the late stage Dao integration stage, feel a deep sense of fear. He actually felt like he was facing an immortal Dao elite. "I hate you!" Maggie roared angrily. He slashed out 18 times in a row. With each slash, his soul weakened a little. This was a saber technique that consumed his life force. The saber strikes overlapped, and their power increased explosively. The starry sky trembled violently. What a powerful attack. If I take it head-on, I'll definitely be seriously injured. I have to block it. Jiang Xi's expression was extremely serious. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the sword chi condensed from hundreds of sword Dao green lotuses was like a meteor shower in the night sky. It met Maggie's 18 consecutive slashes. Chapter 473. Boom! The surging attack exploded in the starry sky, and a powerful shockwave swept across thousands of kilometers. At the same time, a dazzling light illuminated the dark starry sky. A second later, the 18 stack saber lights were blocked by the sword chi. It was blocked. No! Jiang Xi was about to heave a sigh of relief when his expression suddenly changed. After using up his life and slashing 18 times, Maggie's soul aura had weakened to less than 1/10 of its original level. It was no threat to Jiang Xi. However, Jiang Xi felt a deep chill, as if a powerful existence was about to break free. It was eerie and terrifying, as if he had fallen into an endless abyss. His intuition told him that there was great danger. When the dazzling light in the distance subsided, Jiang Xi finally saw it clearly. There was a bloody hole in Maggie's chest, and a figure came out of it. Although the figure was very similar to a human, this figure had silver hair, golden eyes, and blue skin. The eerie ghostly aura became extremely dense with his appearance. A powerful immortal aura enveloped Jiang Xi. A ghost race silver yiksha, and a ghost immortal of the third tribulation. Jiang Xi's breathing stopped. The silver yiksha race was a top-notch bloodline among the ghost race. This ghost immortal of the third tribulation was definitely comparable to an ordinary fourth tribulation transcender. This hitman had hidden himself too well. The ghost race wants to assassinate me? A ghost immortal of the third tribulation transcender realm using a late-stage Dao integration human cultivator as a carrier. This must be a spy of the ghost race that has been hiding in the land of reincarnation for a long time. No matter what, it's not something I can fight head-on. Jiang Xi's mind raced. He scanned his communication pearl with his spiritual sense, and hundreds of similar messages were sent out instantly. Senior Sun Yun, the person in charge of the surveillance station, is carrying a ghost immortal of the third tribulation to assassinate me. At this time, Immortal Sun Yun was chatting with Immortal Lu Chun of the Heavenly Sun sect in a palace at the edge of the Forgotten Mountain star system. Immortal Lu Chun was the representative of the Heavenly Sun sect in the land of reincarnation. He was a seventh tribulation transcender. Sun Yun, your luck is still so good. Jiang Xi is no ordinary genius disciple. When he transcends the tribulation to become an immortal, he will be able to transcend at least 4 tribulations in a row this time. You sold Jiang Xi a favor. Who knows, it might be of great use in the future. Immortal Lu Chun said with a smile. 4 tribulations in a row? You underestimate the genius of our Purple Heaven sect too much. I think he can overcome at least 6 tribulations in a row. Immortal Sun Yun chuckled and shook his head. He's that powerful? Geniuses who have the talent to transcend 4 tribulations in a row are rarely seen in a million years. Immortal Lu Chun was very surprised. What else? If it weren't for his short cultivation time, some of the higher-ups of our Purple Heaven sect would have ranked him as the strongest genius of this era. Immortal Sun Yun's voice was filled with pride and gratification. He was a cultivator who had a strong sense of belonging to the sect. At the same time, he liked to promote the younger generation. Immortal Lu Chun sighed and said, in an era of 36 million years, such a genius will have the chance to become a true monarch-level expert in the future. That's a true expert who can shake all the races in the universe. Haha, if you asked me. Immortal Sun Yun laughed loudly. Before he could finish speaking, his laughter suddenly disappeared. He frowned and took out his communication bead. Who sent me over 100 messages in a row? After scanning with his spiritual awareness, his expression changed greatly. Senior Sun Yun, there's a person in charge of a surveillance point who brought a 3 tribulation ghost immortal to assassinate me. Save me quickly. Over 100 messages, all of which had the same content, were obviously very urgent. Jiang Xi was assassinated? Immortal Sun Yun didn't care about Immortal Lu Qin beside him. He waved his hand, and a huge 3D image appeared in front of him. At the same time, he connected to the Eye of Heaven network. Search for information on Jiang Xi's location reported by all the people in charge of surveillance points. Because Jiang Xi always liked to stay in front of the demon corpses for an hour, this strange behavior was recorded and reported by many people in charge of surveillance points. Through this information, they could determine Jiang Xi's approximate location. Soon, the most recent message was filtered out. It was from 6 hours ago. A surveillance point in the 89167 area once reported Jiang Xi's location. Now, they had a rough idea of the area. Immortal Sun Yun searched again. Contact all the surveillance points in this area and confirm Jiang Xi's current location. 3 seconds later, there was a response. Nothing? Impossible. It's only been 6 hours. Even if the flying boat flew at full speed, it wouldn't be able to fly out of this area. Immortal Sun Yun's expression changed greatly. Check if there are any surveillance points in this area that have lost contact. Immortal Lu Qin, who had been silent all this time, reminded him. Immortal Sun Yun hurriedly contacted all the surveillance points in the 89167 area again. 3 seconds later, there was a result. There's no response from 2 surveillance points. They've lost contact. Immortal Sun Yun's expression darkened. It was certain that Jiang Xi was at this location. This location is too far away. With our speed, even if we rush there, it'll be too late. Immortal Lu Qin sighed. Only a true monarch can save Jiang Xi in time. Immortal Sun Yun didn't hesitate and sent a message to true monarch Guihe, who was guarding the land of reincarnation. This process took another second. After the message was sent, the 2 immortals who had been talking and laughing a moment ago had complicated expressions. True monarch Guihe is now in the Palm Base Galaxy. After receiving the news, he'll need 1 minute to arrive in the 89167 area of the Wangshan Galaxy. 1 minute to face a 3rd tribulation ghost immortal. I hope Jiang Xi can survive. The 2 immortals knew very well that Jiang Xi was only a nascent soul cultivator. No matter how talented he was, he wouldn't be able to overcome the absolute disparity in strength between him and a 3rd tribulation ghost immortal. In the Wangshan Galaxy, in the starry sky filled with alien corpses, Jiang Xi wanted to take out the flying boat and use its speed to escape. However, the current situation didn't allow him to do so. 300 kilometers away, the 3rd tribulation ghost immortal who'd crawled out of Maggie's chest had been locking onto him. If he made any move, he would definitely be struck by lightning. Maggie wasn't dead yet. He glared at Jiang Xi with a ferocious expression. As a late-stage Dao integration human cultivator, he was able to become the 4th spy of the ghost race in the land of reincarnation. It wasn't as simple as being controlled by spiritual consciousness. Most importantly, there was a 3rd tribulation ghost immortal hiding in his body. It was from the Silver Yiksha clan, the top bloodline of the ghost race. Maggie said to the 3rd tribulation ghost immortal of the Silver Yiksha clan, Sir, I've eliminated all the surveillance points within a radius of 100,000 kilometers. You have 60 seconds to kill Jiang Xi. Otherwise, the perfected monarch of the human race will arrive. Your mission is complete. The 3rd tribulation ghost immortal of the Silver Yiksha clan said coldly. A sinister aura swept across Maggie's body. Relief flashed across Maggie's eyes. If he could kill Jiang Xi alone, he would still have a chance to escape. Unfortunately, the ghost race wouldn't let him live after the 3rd tribulation ghost immortal in his body attacked. That would leave clues for the human race. Chapter 474. Jiang Xi watched as the last trace of Mai Ji's aura disappeared. This late-stage Dao integration stage human cultivator who had been controlled by the ghost race was finally free. Next would be his death tribulation. The ghost immortal of the Silver Yiksha clan was comparable to an ordinary fourth tribulation transcender. Would he be able to deal with it? The answer was yes. I definitely can't. I can't think about how to kill him now. It's not realistic. What I need to do now is to stall for time and hold on. As long as I can hold on until reinforcements come, I'll win. Jiang Xi's mind was very clear. The problem was, would this ghost immortal give him the chance to stall for time? The answer was yes. No. Now it's your turn, little fellow of the human clan. The three tribulation ghost immortal of the Silver Yiksha clan had a cold look in his golden eyes. Whoosh! A long dragon that was like an icy river, carrying a sinister ghost chi, instantly swept over tens of thousands of kilometers, roaring as it attacked riverward. The powerful immortal Dao pressure restricted Jiang Xi's movements and made it difficult for him to use his spiritual sense. In this situation, it seemed like he could only wait to be captured. Jiang Xi clenched his teeth and the veins all over his body bulged. He held the sword with both hands and roared, "Kill!" This roar allowed him to break through the shackles and finally mobilize the power of his Taoist techniques. The supreme-grade immortal artifact Red Cloud Sword was immediately surrounded by the Taoist techniques of Sword, Gale, Fire, and Diamond. The four Taoist techniques fused together. The basic spiritual power amplitude of 2,000 times increased by 4 times when the four Taoist techniques fused together. It became 8,000 times. 4 colored green lotuses appeared one after another. There were 165 of them in total. This was his strongest attack. Strands of 4-colored sword chi were condensed from the green lotuses. There were a total of 16,500 strands. Then, in an instant, they gathered into a huge sword chi that was 100,000 feet long and faced the ice dragon. Boom, boom, boom. The ice dragon summoned by the ghost immortal shrank under the obstruction of the sword chi. Finally, only half of it was left, and hit Jiang Xi with the difference in strength. Jiang Xi could not dodge at all. Whoosh! Jiang Xi was directly submerged by the ice dragon. Crack, crack! The toughness of his body, which he was so proud of, suffered a heavy blow for the first time. Terrifying cracks appeared on his body. They were densely packed like glass that was about to shatter. At the same time, the eerie ghostly aura carried by the glacier dragon seemed to be able to freeze his soul and slow down his thinking. The sea of consciousness, which was originally full of vitality, was rapidly freezing. He could foresee that if his entire sea of consciousness froze, then he would really be finished. At this critical moment, the nascent soul sitting on the crude lotus seat emitted a gentle golden light, dispelling the ghastly ghost chi. Not only that, a faint golden light appeared behind Jiang Xi's head. A surprising scene appeared. The killing move of a dignified 3-tribulation ghost immortal was actually suppressed by the golden light. The ghastly ghost chi that filled this expanse of the starry sky was like snow that had encountered the scorching sun, and it swiftly melted and transformed into nothingness. This is the Bodhisattva fruit of Buddhism? Impossible! Impossible! The 3-tribulation ghost celestial from the Silver Yiksha clan had been full of confidence. But now, his face was filled with disbelief and shock. Because the ghost clan was most afraid of the lightning of Taoism and the light of Buddhism. Now, Jiang Xi was displaying the light of Buddhism. The 3-tribulation ghost celestial took a deep breath and quickly suppressed the shock in his heart. Because this attack had lasted for 10 seconds. He dared not delay any longer. A long silver rod with golden patterns appeared in his hand. His figure flashed, and he rushed toward Jiang Xi at an extremely fast speed. Whoosh! The long rod whistled and smashed toward Jiang Xi. The immortal power on the rod was turbulent, but it only carried a small amount of ghost chi. Because he knew that ghost chi was now useless against Jiang Xi. Even if I only use immortal power, I can still kill you! The 3-tribulation ghost celestial's eyes were cold. Clang! Clang! Jiang Xi brandished his sword to meet the attack. Every time their magic treasures collided, Jiang Xi would be repelled hundreds of kilometers away, and then the three tribulation ghosts celestial would catch up with him. It seemed that he had blocked the opponent's attack, but the price he paid was that the cracks on his body were constantly expanding. In the end, his body, which was 10 times stronger than a supreme-grade spirit weapon, could not withstand the attack of an immortal Dao expert. Under such circumstances, Jiang Xi persisted for another 20 seconds. In fact, it was already very impressive that he could last until now. This three tribulation ghost celestial of the Silver Yiksha clan was equivalent to an ordinary 4 tribulation transcender. His cultivation level was only at the early stage essence soul realm, and his actual combat power was barely at the late stage Dao integration realm. If the news that he could last for 30 seconds under the opponent's all-out attack spread out, it would definitely cause a big sensation. The strength of his body and the mutated golden light of his essence soul were the main reasons why Jiang Xi could last until now. Just the Ghost Ji losing its effect was equivalent to weakening the three tribulation ghost celestial's strength. This is still not enough. Just now, Mai Ji said that this ghost celestial has a total of 1 minute. Now, only 30 seconds have passed. It seems that I have no choice but to reveal my trump card. Jiang Xi did not hesitate. He held the sword in his right hand and kept blocking the opponent's attacks. At the same time, a miniature sky tower appeared in his left hand. Tower? What kind of magical treasure is this? The three tribulation ghost celestial was puzzled, but he did not stop attacking. The silver staff with golden patterns turned into countless phantoms. Some were blocked by Jiang Xi, while others hit Jiang Xi, causing serious injuries. It doesn't have the aura of an immortal artifact. It's not a supreme-grade immortal artifact. Could it be a Dao artifact? The three tribulation ghost celestial denied this inference. Impossible. He has no immortal power, so he can't use a Dao artifact. It should be some life-saving magical treasure. The three tribulation ghost celestial knew that with Jiang Xi's status, he would definitely have a life-saving magical treasure. But it's too late to take it out now. He believed that at most 3 seconds, Jiang Xi's body would be smashed into pieces, and he would die. At this moment, whoosh, the quaint sky tower suddenly expanded to more than 2 meters long. Jiang Xi grabbed the top of the tower and smashed it toward the three tribulation ghost celestial as if he was holding a club. Bang! There was a loud sound like thunder, and the sound waves spread out 3,000 kilometers. Crack! There was another soft sound. A crack appeared on the silver staff with golden patterns after being smashed by the sky tower. If it was smashed a few more times, it would probably break. What? The three tribulation ghost celestial was shocked. His staff was a supreme-grade immortal artifact. How could it be smashed with just 1 hit? What kind of magical treasure was this? Was it really a Dao artifact? Bang! 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 Jiang Xi did not give him much time to be shocked. He kept smashing the sky tower with the club-like Dao artifact. Crack! This time, it was not the sound of Jiang Xi's body cracking, but the staff of the three tribulation ghost celestial in front of him breaking into 2 pieces. The supreme-grade immortal artifact was destroyed. This process took another 10 seconds. Such a genius is only the 10th target? Those ghost celestials in charge of intelligence in the clan should all die. The three tribulation ghost celestial was furious. He did not feel sorry for his magical treasure, because he was a man of sacrifice lurking in the human territory. Once he attacked, he would have no chance to survive. There's no time. Chapter 475. There's no time. That's it. The third tribulation ghost immortal of the Silver Yiksha race suddenly exploded with anger. Explode! His long silver hair stood on end, and his golden pupils emitted a divine light. Immortal power circulated rapidly throughout his body, and his body swelled. A terrifying aura suddenly spread out. He was going to self-detonate. He was going to kill Jiang Xi through self-detonation and complete the mission. Lunatic! Lunatic! Riverward cursed incessantly. He was too close, and he couldn't dodge at all. The self-detonation of a third tribulation ghost immortal could easily destroy hundreds of planets. Even if his body was 10 times stronger than a supreme-grade spirit artifact, he would probably turn into ashes in an instant. Quick! Hide in Sky Tower! An Shang was also anxious. In just an instant, the third tribulation ghost immortal exploded. Boom! 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 The starry sky within tens of thousands of kilometers was instantly compressed and collapsed, as if a star had exploded. The terrifying impact swept out. Many of the demon corpses stored in the starry sky were below the 6th tribulation level and were directly destroyed. By the time everything settled down, the 30,000-meter-tall heaven-reaching pavilion at the center of the explosion had disappeared. In its place was Jiang Xi, whose body was about to collapse. He desperately stuffed healing spirit pills into his mouth, trying to stop his body from continuously cracking. It was too tragic. If he had entered the Sky Tower 1,000th of a second later, he would have been gone. After a full 10 seconds, his injuries finally stopped. Jiang Xi's aura was so weak that it was even weaker than a golden core cultivator. However, he survived. Almost. Jiang Xi let out a long breath. The third tribulation demon corpses in front of him were originally 3,000 kilometers in diameter, but now there were only corpses less than 10 meters long left. How terrifying! These are all tribulation transcendent demon corpses. Even I can't destroy them without using Red Heaven's sword and the Sky Tower. They're gone just like that. He spread out his spirit sense and found that 1/5 of the demon corpses within a radius of 60,000 kilometers had been destroyed by the explosion just now. How much was 1/5? Jiang Xi had strolled around this area before, so he had a rough impression. There were almost 100,000 monster corpses in this area, and all of them were at the tribulation immortal realm. 1/5 was equivalent to 20,000 corpses. To destroy so many tribulation transcender monster corpses, the losses of the Forgotten Mountain star system might reach tens of billions of points. Those immortal path powerhouses are going to have a headache. Suddenly, Jiang Xi's eyes lit up. He remembered that McGee had said that all the surveillance points within 100,000 kilometers had been cleared. There was no one watching them now. It can be confirmed that this information is reliable. There was such a huge commotion before the explosion, but the person in charge of the surveillance point didn't come out. It doesn't matter if the information is unreliable. Even if they were still alive before the explosion, they should have died after the explosion. Riverwood's thoughts spun rapidly as he came to a decision. Now, 45 seconds had passed. He still had 15 seconds before he was unmonitored. After thinking for a while, Jiang Xi asked in his heart, "Sister An Shang, can the perfected Lord discover your existence? After you recognize him as your master, if you don't take the initiative to expose the existence of the heaven-reaching pavilion, even the Tao Lord won't be able to discover you." An Shang was very confident. Jiang Xi was relieved. He took out the flying boat and directly sped up. It crossed tens of thousands of kilometers and came to a pile of 6th tribulation monster corpses. He waved his hand and put them into the heaven-reaching pavilion. Then, he sped up again and came to a pile of 7th tribulation monster corpses 4,000 kilometers away. He put them into the heaven-reaching pavilion. He was very fast. In 10 seconds he had collected more than 1,000 tribulation transcender monster corpses. Although only a small portion of them were 9th-stage monster corpses, so many of them were worth hundreds of millions of points. Moreover, compared to the 20,000 or so corpses he had destroyed just now, these 1,000 or so corpses were insignificant. I encountered an assassination here and almost lost my life. It shouldn't be too much to take some compensation, right? Jiang Xi took them with a clear conscience. This wasn't stealing. There were only 5 seconds left. Jiang Xi didn't collect the other monster corpses. He quickly thought about how to explain all this. After 3 seconds, a tall figure appeared out of thin air at the center of the explosion of the third tribulation ghost immortal. The tall figure vaguely merged with the starry sky, and the mysterious aura he emitted revealed his identity. This was a perfected lord of the Tao immortal stage. Jiang Xi had seen 2 perfected lords since he started cultivating. They were perfected Lord Iron Mountain and perfected Lord 6 Virtuous. This was the third. "Greetings, perfected lord!" Jiang Xi bowed respectfully. Perfected Lord Gui was expressionless. It was impossible to tell what he was thinking from his face. In fact, he was surprised. After receiving Immortal Sun Yan's message, he immediately rushed here. He thought that after coming here, he would at most collect Jiang Xi's corpse and take revenge. He didn't expect that Jiang Xi was still alive, and the assassin was already dead. With his strength, he could of course determine that the Ghost Clan assassin had died by self-explosion. To be able to force the assassin to self-explode and survive the explosion, this little guy from the Purple Heaven sect was not simple. "Tell me what happened. I want the details." Perfected Lord Gui's deep voice seemed to be able to affect one's soul. Jiang Xi wasn't affected at all because of the special nature of his primordial spirit. He said calmly, "Perfected Lord, I came to the land of reincarnation to buy a batch of rank 9 great demon corpses. When I was shopping, I met a monitoring point commander called my G. He said that he wanted to check my identity. When I was about to show him my identity, he suddenly attacked. However, I'm not afraid of a late-stage Tao integration realm cultivator." Jiang Xi paused. He realized that Perfected Lord Gui didn't respond. This discovery made him a little nervous. He knew very well that he had to be careful when facing the Perfected Lord's questions. The land of reincarnation was an important place for the human race. An assassination attempt was a big deal. Losing goods worth tens of billions of points was also a big deal. Jiang Xi continued, "What I didn't expect was that my G was hiding a third tribulation ghost immortal from the Silver Yaksha clan." "Silver Yaksha?" Perfected Lord Gui finally spoke. "Yes, a Silver Yaksha from the Ghost Clan. He has silver hair, golden pupils, blue skin." Jiang Xi explained in detail. Perfected Lord Gui nodded slightly. "I know I'm not a match for a third tribulation ghost immortal. Fortunately, Master gave me a purple jade immortal talisman. I risked my life to severely injure him." Jiang Xi said. "Purple jade immortal talisman?" Perfected Lord Gui asked again. "Yes. When I was cultivating in the third heaven of the Purple Heaven sect, I also encountered a life-or-death crisis. After I escaped, Master was worried about my safety and gave me a purple jade immortal talisman." Jiang Xi explained. This was the excuse he had thought of. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to cover up his lie and expose the existence of the heaven-connecting tower. The purple jade immortal talisman was a one-time secret treasure that could only be refined by immortal Tao experts. When activated, it could severely injure tribulation immortal cultivators. Chapter 476. The Wine Sword Immortal was a top 9 tribulation transcender, so the purple jade immortal talisman he refined was naturally very powerful. The purple jade immortal talisman could explain why it could force a 3 tribulation ghost immortal to self-destruct. Of course, Jiang Xi wasn't sure if his master had refined such a thing. Anyway, he had to deal with the current situation first. He wasn't worried that true monarch Gui or anyone else would ask the Wine Sword Immortal for confirmation. After all, the Wine Sword Immortal would definitely help him fill in the gaps. "What else?" True monarch Gui asked again. Jiang Xi didn't hesitate and continued. "I used the purple jade immortal talisman to severely injure the 3 tribulation ghost immortal of the Silver Yaksha clan. Then I took the opportunity to escape on the flying boat. However, the ghost immortal was too ruthless. He saw that he couldn't kill me, so he self-destructed. At this time, the airship had only flown 20,000 kilometers when it was affected by the explosion. I almost died. The self-destruction of a 3 tribulation ghost immortal was too terrifying." Jiang Xi sighed with lingering fear as he quickly thought about whether there were any loopholes in his story. When he went to take away the corpses of the great demons, he had also put away the broken supreme grade immortal staff. This was the clue that would most likely reveal that he had a powerful magic treasure. After confirming again and again, there shouldn't be any loopholes in the scene. However, he was still a little nervous, as he didn't know what this true monarch would do. In fact, true monarch Gui didn't care about Jiangxi's last words. He could tell that Jiangxi's current injuries were indeed very serious. If Jiangxi's body wasn't strong enough, he would have been dead by now. Something else must have happened after the ghost immortal talisman self-destructed. His intuition told him that Jiangxi was hiding something. However, Jiangxi's story was very reasonable. The only thing worth investigating was the purple jade immortal talisman. True monarch Gui, he said. I'll send someone to the Wine Sword Immortal to verify the purple jade immortal talisman you just mentioned. As for other things, the 9 immortal Dao experts of the Forgotten Mountain star system will decide. Other things? Jiangxi's heart tightened, but he remained calm on the surface. He wanted to ask true monarch Gui, but he found that this high and mighty existence had no intention of continuing the conversation. His eyelids drooped. He could only give up. After a short while, a ripple appeared in the distant starry sky, and a flying boat shuttled over. There were 2 immortals on the flying boat. One was immortal Sun Yun, and the other was immortal Lu Qin. They first came before true Lord Gui and bowed respectfully. Greetings, true Lord. All right, I'll leave it to you. There won't be any major problems with the assassination. As for the other matters, you have to deal with them carefully. True Lord Gui nodded slightly and disappeared. Handle it carefully? The 2 Sixth Tribulation Transcenders looked at each other. They were naturally relieved that Jiangxi was still alive. However, when they looked at the empty starry sky caused by the self-explosion of the 3 Tribulation Ghosts Celestial, both of them looked very serious. The last words of Immortal Gui concluded that there was nothing wrong with the assassination process, so there was no need to investigate how Jiangxi survived. But the other matters were equally serious. The 20,000 Tribulation Transcender monster corpses had been destroyed, resulting in the loss of tens of billions of points. This was definitely a big deal. The nascent soul stage core disciples of the Purple Heaven sect could only obtain tens of thousands of points even if they were to risk their lives doing cultivation missions. Only hellish missions that had a high chance of survival would give them hundreds of thousands of points. Thus, it was clear what tens of billions of points meant. With such a big loss, the 9 immortal Dao representatives of the Forgotten Mountain star system couldn't guarantee that they would be able to escape punishment from the Heavenly Court. Of course, they couldn't ignore the assassination of Jiangxi. Strictly speaking, it was a failure of the Forgotten Mountain star system to allow a foreign spy to sneak in, resulting in today's assassination. Immortal Sun Yun asked, Jiangxi, who tried to assassinate you? Jiangxi replied, the commander in charge of the surveillance point, Mike G. He had a 9-colored seal in his hand, and it had the aura of your immortal power. At the same time, he waved his hand and summoned a 3-dimensional phantom. It was the image of the black-armored man, Mike G. No matter what, he had to deal with this matter first. Mike G? Immortal Sun Yun was puzzled. Immortal Lu Qin nodded, and said, there is such a person. He's a commander for 800 years. Immortal Sun Yun made his stance clear. It seems that there was a problem with our internal management. We failed in our duty. Jiangxi relaxed a bit. Actually, it made sense. He was one of the core disciples with the highest status in the Purple Heaven sect. Not many people dared to make trouble for him and slander him. The only problem is that the losses this time are too big. If we only lost 10 or 20 million points, Lu Qin and I would be able to forget about it. But now that we've lost 20,000 Tribulation Transcender monster corpses, the total value is between 30 billion and 50 billion points. With such a large loss, the higher-ups will definitely hold us accountable. Immortal Sun Yun's expression was serious. Jiangxi said, I'm the victim. I know that. I'm also a member of the Purple Heaven sect, so I definitely believe you. Lu Qin is my good friend, so there's no need to doubt his attitude. The main thing is that the representatives of the other 7 immortal Dao sects compete with each other. They might use this as a pretext to target and suppress you. In addition, the people in charge of the surveillance point within 100,000 kilometers are all dead. In other words, there are no witnesses to what you just said, Immortal Sun Yun said. Jiang Xi frowned. Although he was a bit unhappy, he knew that Immortal Sun Yun's warning was indeed about the trouble that might appear next. Seeing that Jiang Xi was silent, Immortal Sun Yun continued. After a while, the representatives of the other 7 immortal Dao sects will arrive. There's one person you have to pay attention to, Immortal Qiao Tu from the Taoist sect. He's the only 7th tribulation transcender among us. He has a strong background and is the most domineering one among us. After the 7 of them arrive, be careful not to offend him. Jiang Xi nodded. He had a strong background and was described by Immortal Sun Yun in such a manner. He had to pay attention to him. At the edge of the Forgotten Mountain star system, Immortal Qiao Tu's palace. Immortal Qiao Tu received news that Jiang Xi had been attacked. We were just talking about Jiang Xi. I didn't expect him to be in the Forgotten Mountain star system. Immortal Qiao Tu's gaze was ruthless. Such a coincidence? Immortal Wu Yi was surprised. He was attacked by a spy of the ghost race and almost died. Immortal Qiao Tu gave a simple explanation of what had happened. He's lucky. Immortal Wu Yi sneered. Lucky? That depends on whose hands it falls into. This attack caused him to lose tens of billions of points. He won't be able to avoid it. Immortal Qiao Tu sneered. Immortal Wu Yi was shocked when he heard about tens of billions of points. Then, he understood. Then I'll wait here for your good news. If you can sentence Jiang Xi to death, I'll immediately go to the foreign battlefield and get you underworld spirit crystals. Haha, a puny primordial soul realm cultivator, isn't it easy to capture him? Immortal Qiao Tu laughed. Immortal Wu Yi's eyes twitched. He knew that this was a chance to kill Jiang Xi. With Immortal Qiao Tu's background, he might really be able to use this matter to kill Jiang Xi. Chapter 477. Forgotten Mountain Star System, Area 89167. After the big explosion, the starry sky was in ruins. Jiang Xi, Immortal Sun Yun, and Immortal Lu Qin waited quietly in the ruins. Not long after, 7 flying ships appeared in the distant starry sky one after another. Whoosh, 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 hundreds of figures came down from the 7 flying ships, and hundreds of them emitted powerful immortal auras. They were all tribulation transcender powerhouses. So many monster corpses are missing? This is a big loss. The immortals were frightened by the scene in front of them. They still didn't know what had happened. The representatives of the 7 immortal sects knew. The 7 of them brought their subordinates and flew toward Jiang Xi's group. The one in the lead was a young 7th tribulation transcender. Although he was handsome, his naturally balding hair directly pulled down his looks. Moreover, this person's appearance was quite arrogant. One could feel his arrogant aura before even approaching him. Jiang Xi's group also took the initiative to greet him. The 2 sides stood still. Immortal Sun Yun had already put away his serious expression. He smiled and said, Jiang Xi, let me introduce you to these seniors. This is Immortal Qian Luo of the Primordial Chaos Sect. This is Fairy Huan Hua of the Moon Sect. This is Sword Immortal Chun Feng of the Sword Sect. This is Arhat Mou of the Buddhist Sect. Immortal Sun Yun introduced the 6 immortal sects one after another. Every time he introduced one, Jiang Xi respectfully bowed. These 6 people were all 6 tribulation transcenders, and their attitudes were very friendly. When it came to the last handsome young man with balding hair, Immortal Sun Yun's smile became more obvious. He was very enthusiastic, and his tone was also a bit higher. Jiang Xi, the last one is Immortal Qiao Tu from the Dao sect. His talent is not inferior to yours. When Immortal Qiao Tu transcended tribulation to become an immortal, he transcended 5 tribulations in a row. He could be said to be the strongest genius at that time. Jiang Xi respectfully bowed again. Greetings, Immortal Qiao Tu. A playful look flashed in Immortal Qiao Tu's eyes, and he softly said, Is Liquor Sword Immortal doing well? Master is doing very well. Jiang Xi was unsure of Immortal Qiao Tu's meaning. Very good? I remember that he only has 3,000 years left in his lifespan. He's about to die. Immortal Qiao Tu's words sounded like he was concerned, but in reality, they were not friendly. Jiang Xi frowned slightly. If it weren't for the fact that he was weaker than the other party, he would have already made his move. Not happy? Immortal Qiao Tu smiled carelessly and said, Then let's talk about what happened this time. I took a look just now, and there are no less than 20,000 Tribulation Transcender monster corpses missing. Calculating the value, it should be around 30 billion to 50 billion. Perfected Cultivator Gui, he sent us what you said and I read it in detail. You said that you were assassinated by the Ghost Clan, but where's the evidence? From the beginning to the end, you were the only one who spoke. Qiao Tu, Perfected Cultivator Gui, he has come to a conclusion about this matter. It was indeed a ghost immortal of the ghost race who tried to assassinate Jiang Xi. We're the ones responsible for this. It's a problem with the internal management of the Forgotten Mountain star system. Immortal Sun Yun smiled. That's right. Immortal Lu Qin chimed in. That's the Perfected Cultivator's conclusion, and it can only be used as a reference. All matters of the Forgotten Mountain star system should be decided by the 9 major immortal Dao sects. Immortal Qiao Tu showed his domineering nature, not even giving face to Perfected Cultivator Gui. Immortal Sun Yun and Immortal Lu Chen's faces darkened, while the other 6 immortal Dao representatives remained silent. Immortal Qiao Tu looked at Jiang Xi with a stern expression and said, Humph, if you asked me, this is a good show that you directed and acted out yourself. You came to the Forgotten Mountain star system to buy monster corpses, and then took the opportunity to kill the person in charge of the nearby surveillance points. Commander McGee happened to pass by here, and he was also killed. In the end, you took away 20,000 Tribulation Transcender monster corpses when no one was watching you. Then, you detonated energy-type secret treasures, such as the Ghost Demon Essence, to create the effect of the Ghost Race's immortal Dao expert's self-destruction. The monster corpses worth tens of billions were enough for you to take the risk. After all, with your identity as a genius, very few people would suspect your identity. His cold words caused Jiang Xi's expression to change drastically. Although this person was arrogant and domineering, his words hit Jiang Xi's weak spot. No one was watching. No witnesses. He could say that he was right, and Immortal Qiao Tu could also say that he was right. Immortal Qiao Tu, Jiang Xi said in a low voice. You still want to deny it? Immortal Qiao Tu's eyes were cold. A powerful immortal Dao aura enveloped Jiang Xi, making it impossible for Jiang Xi to say a word. Qiao Tu, do you really have to do this? Immortal Sun Yun's expression was solemn. Have you all forgotten your duties? Immortal Qiao Tu looked coldly at the other 8 immortal Dao representatives. We represent the heavenly court of the Dao Alliance to guard the land of reincarnation, the Forgotten Mountain star system. I hope that when you make your judgments, you can put aside your personal grudges and your sex emotions. We have to protect the interests of the heavenly court of the Dao Alliance and the human race. He spoke eloquently and with a strong sense of righteousness. When Jiang Xi heard this, he was filled with anger. Motherfucker, he dared to confuse right and wrong and splashed dirty water on him. This was definitely a personal grudge. Otherwise, Immortal Qiao Tu wouldn't have taken the initiative to mention Wine Sword Immortal. However, he was currently enveloped by the other party's immortal Dao aura and was unable to refute or resist. Immortal Qiao Tu continued, This is an item worth several tens of billions of points. It doesn't matter if this is a show directed and acted by Jiang Xi, or if he really encountered an assassination attempt. We have to investigate this thoroughly. What do you all think? After saying this, he swept his domineering gaze across the 8 immortal Dao experts. Primordial Chaos Sex Immortal Qian Luo said, The Heavenly Court will definitely investigate this matter. If we investigate this thoroughly, we will be able to deal with it in advance. Moon Sex Fairy Huanhua said, It's good to investigate. I feel that Jiang Xi wouldn't do such a thing. However, We have to clear him of suspicion. Let's investigate. It won't take much time. Let's investigate. The other Immortal Tao representatives expressed their opinions one after another. However, everyone's attitude was to smooth things over. They didn't clearly express their opinions. Immortal Qiao Tu also didn't want to offend Jiang Xi. Qiao Tu, can't we just let Jiang Xi swear a heavenly Tao oath? Immortal Sun Yun's attitude was very clear. Yeah, a heavenly Tao oath can also prove Jiang Xi's innocence. Immortal Lu Chen also said, a heavenly Tao oath? Who can guarantee that he doesn't have a secret treasure to avoid the oath? Immortal Qiao Tu sneered. Immortal Sun Yun and Immortal Lu Chen looked at each other. Both of them were very helpless. Facing Immortal Qiao Tu, who had a powerful background and strength, they had no way to deal with him. Immortal Qiao Tu looked at Jiang Xi and said, now that everyone agrees to investigate this matter in detail, do you agree? I believe that seniors will prove my innocence. Jiang Xi understood that people had no choice but to lower their heads under someone else's roof. If this son of a bitch was muddle-headed and directly killed him, there would be no way to reason with him. However, he didn't directly answer whether he agreed or not. He only wanted to say that he was innocent. Chapter 478. Although Riverward had his head lowered, his words were filled with pride and arrogance. As long as he was innocent. Humph. Qiao Tu understood the hidden meaning in Jiang Xi's words and said coldly, I want you to open your primordial spirit and let me search your soul. This way, I can confirm whether what you said before about the assassination is true. Don't worry, I promise I won't hurt your primordial spirit. Impossible! Jiang Xi didn't even think about it and directly refused. You are guilty! Qiao Tu sneered. Guilty? I respect you as a senior, and of course I don't dare to go against your will. However, my primordial spirit is the foundation of my soul. Once something happens to my primordial spirit, my cultivation will regress, and in the worst case, I will die. Jiang Xi was neither servile nor overbearing. You don't believe me? Qiao Tu looked unhappy. It's not that I don't believe you, I just don't like to put my life in the hands of others. Jiang Xi said loudly. Regardless of whether he had secrets or not, soul-searching was a very dangerous thing. If he was careless, he would be seriously injured. What if Immortal Qiao Tu was up to no good, saying that his hand had slipped and he would cripple his cultivation or even kill him? At that time, even if someone helped him take revenge, what was the use? Moreover, he had so many secrets, such as the experience panel, Earth, Sky Tower, and so on. Each of them was a big secret that could not be exposed. Qiao Tu, Jiang Xi is a core disciple of Purple Heaven sect. If anything happens to him, the sect's higher-ups will definitely investigate. Have you thought it through? Immortal Sun Yun said. He did not directly blame Qiao Tu, but used the higher-ups of Purple Heaven sect to pressure Qiao Tu's day. Qiao Tu coldly glanced at Immortal Sun Yun, but he listened and did not continue to ask for soul-searching. It's fine if you don't want to soul-search, but let me check your storage ring. Immortal Qiao Tu's tone was unquestionable and domineering. 20,000 tribulation transcendent monster corpses would require a storage space with a diameter of hundreds of millions of kilometers. Do you think I have such a big storage ring? Jiang Xi was so angry that he laughed. He now completely understood that this person was here to find trouble. Even if he gave his storage ring to the other party to check, there would definitely be other problems later on. Anything is possible, Immortal Qiao Tu said. As expected, he wouldn't give up until he found out something. All right, I can let you check my storage ring, but if there aren't 20,000 demon corpses in there, I want you to apologize to me in front of everyone. Jiang Xi sneered. Since you're being unreasonable, why should I care about face with you? Brat, you've got guts. You've successfully angered me. Immortal Qiao Tu's expression was cold as killing intent burst forth. A strange aura spread out from the top of his head and rushed straight at Jiang Xi. Qiao Tu, don't cross the line. Sun Yunxian shouted and appeared in front of Jiang Xi. Boom! Immortal Sun Yun had defeated the strange aura, but his face had turned somewhat pale. Clearly, in order to block this attack, he had paid a great price. Jiang Xi was so shocked that he broke out in cold sweat. He had truly experienced the descent of death just now. He could imagine that if he had been hit by that strange aura, he would have been dead. Xiao Tu, you dare to kill me? You're finished. After today's matter, I will definitely report this matter to True Monarch Iron Mountain and True Monarch 6 Virtuous who guided my sword cultivation back then. I'll let these two sirs be the judge. I encountered an assassination in the Forgotten Mountain star system. Not only did no one investigate the assassination thoroughly, they even tried to slander me. Jiang Xi raised the flag first. He called out the names of 2 true monarchs in a row. True Monarch Iron Mountain. True Monarch 6 Virtuous. Immortal Xiao Tu was so angry that his eyelids were twitching. A terrifying aura emerged from his bald scalp. However, he didn't attack in the end. The other immortals around were also extremely shocked. They had the qualifications to guard the land of reincarnation. Of course, they had a background. This was especially so for the 9 immortal Dao representatives. They had deep backgrounds, so they weren't afraid of Jiang Xi's master, the Wine Sword Immortal. However, it was different for true monarchs. Even the weakest true monarch could easily kill them. What shocked them the most was that Jiang Xi was actually related to True Monarch 6 Virtuous. True Monarch 6 Virtuous was a top-notch true monarch. He had lived for countless years long before the Dao Alliance Heavenly Court was established. He was an ancient existence, although such an expert had disappeared long ago. His name still spread through the long river of time. True Monarch 6 Virtuous is just a nascent soul cultivator. How could he be related to such an ancient existence? Immortal Xiao Tu was extremely fearful. He also had a true monarch backing him, but compared to True Monarch 6 Virtuous, he was still a far cry. However, he dared to refute me in public. This matter can't be settled easily. Locking him up for 1,000 years is equivalent to crippling him. Immortal Xiao Tu made a decision. He coldly shouted, "No matter how much you quibble, you won't be able to wash away the suspicion of theft. Men, lock him up. Don't let him out until this matter is investigated thoroughly." Yes. The dozen or so tribulation transcenders behind him flew toward Jiang Xi. Immortal Sun Yun heaved a sigh of relief and didn't stop them. Since Immortal Xiao Tu had chosen to take a step back, there was no need to worry about Jiang Xi's life. As long as Jiang Xi could survive, they could slowly deal with him later. Immortal Xiao Tu, just you wait. I'll definitely report this matter to True Monarch Iron Mountain and True Monarch 6 Virtuous. I just want to ask them whether the Dao Alliance Heavenly Court has the final say in this land of reincarnation, or whether it's the Taoist faction. Jiang Xi didn't resist, but the words he said made Immortal Xiao Tu furious. Take him away, take him away! Immortal Xiao Tu angrily shouted. He hadn't met someone who dared to be so arrogant in front of him for a long time. Immortal Sun Yun and the other Immortal Dao representatives remained silent, but they were secretly happy to see this scene. This was the first time they had seen Immortal Xiao Tu suffer. Immortal Xiao Tu was usually very domineering in front of them. Inside a small palace at the edge of the Forgetful Mountain star system, Jiang Xi sat cross-legged with a calm expression on his face. Jiang Xi, don't worry and stay here for a while. I'll report this matter to the true monarchs of the Heavenly Court. Immortal Xiao Tu acted on his own initiative, and the Heavenly Court won't sit by and do nothing. Immortal Sun Yun's voice sounded from outside the palace. Thank you, Senior Sun Yun, Jiang Xi said with a smile. He hadn't expected things to develop to this point. He had thought that the 9 Immortal Dao representatives would just go through the motions after True Monarch Gui finished his questioning. He hadn't expected Immortal Xiao Tu to suddenly jump out. He really didn't know why immortals were balding. This person has a huge grudge against my master, so he's implicating me. Jiang Xi understood this very well. He'd already sent a message to his master, Immortal Wine Sword, but hadn't received a reply yet. Just as he was thinking about this, he received a message from Immortal Wine's sword on his communication bead. Chapter 479. Ancient Tao Origin World, 9 Heaven City, Wine Sword Immortal's Palace. Inside the palace, Wine Sword Immortal was leisurely drinking wine. Jiangxi's projection appeared. "Greetings, Master." Wine Sword Immortal smiled as if he wasn't worried at all. He said, "It's good that you're fine. Just now, Perfected Monarch Wei he came to find me and told me what happened. It seems that the purple jade immortal talisman I gave you back then really came in handy." Wine Sword Immortal blinked after saying that. Jiangxi smiled knowingly. Master had indeed helped him fill in the gaps. Wine Sword Immortal said, "This time, I didn't think it through and didn't give you more purple jade immortal talismans. When you return from the Forgotten Mountain star system, I'll send you a few more." Jiangxi quickly thanked him. "Thank you, Master." Wine Sword Immortal smiled, but his heart was filled with emotions. Jiangxi's speed of improvement was beyond his imagination. Especially this time, he actually blocked the assassination of a 3-tribulation ghost immortal and forced him to self-detonate. He only knew that Jiangxi had obtained the inheritance of the divine palace of Kongming, but now it seemed that this disciple of his had many secrets. In fact, he had already prepared a life-saving treasure for Jiangxi, but Jiangxi's improvement was too fast. He couldn't bring out the treasures he had prepared, so he could only improve them continuously. That was why he hadn't prepared them yet. When this matter was over, he would have to prepare them again. Jiangxi asked. At the same time, he told Wine Sword Immortal about his confrontation with Immortal Qiao Tuesday. "There's something I want to ask, Master. Does Immortal Qiao Tu have a grudge against me? It's all in the past. I didn't expect that narrow-minded Baldy to still remember it." Wine Sword Immortal shook his head and said, "Speaking of which, Qiao Tu made trouble for you this time because of me." Jiangxi asked. "He's just a 7th tribulation transcender. Where did he get the courage to go against Master? Because he has a good father." Wine Sword Immortal shook his head and said disdainfully, "This Immortal Qiao Tu's aptitude, temperament, and comprehension ability are only above average. If he didn't have a good father, it would be difficult for him to even become an immortal." "Who is his father?" Jiangxi asked. "True Monarch Baoyan, the peerless genius of the last era of Taoism. Compared to Lu Yun, the genius of Swords Gate thousands of years ago, he was even stronger back when he was ascending to immortality. He easily went through 9 tribulations. Then, in less than 10,000 years, he reversed life and death and became a Tao immortal perfected monarch with an endless lifespan." The Wine Sword Immortal sighed and said with a yearning tone. Jiangxi was shocked. 9 tribulations consecutively, and reversing life and death in 10,000 years. This talent was too abnormal. Wine Sword Immortal continued. 70,000 years ago, true monarch Baoyan suddenly passed down his bloodline on a whim, which is his only bloodline now, Qiao Cha. In order to nurture Qiao Tu, he had exhausted countless resources and treasures. I'm sure you've noticed that Qiao Sha is bald despite being an immortal. Jiangxi nodded with a smile. That's because true monarch Baoyan specially prepared a treasure for Qiao Cha, a treasure that even a perfected monarch would be tempted by. The Wine Sword Immortal said with a smile. A treasure that has side effects? Jiangxi was enlightened. Yes, hair doesn't grow on the top of the head. The Wine Sword Immortal said. Not only that, in order to fully refine this treasure, Qiao Cha had to stay at the limit of each cultivation level and lay down a solid foundation before he could break through. That's so cruel! Jiangxi was speechless. Just thinking about exhausting one's cultivation level to the limit was torturous. It is indeed cruel, but the benefits are also very obvious. With this treasure, Qiao Cha's life-saving ability is extremely strong. Even a perfected monarch expert would have to put in a lot of effort to kill him. The Wine Sword Immortal shook his head. Then how did Qiao Cha and Master become enemies? Jiangxi was puzzled. The Wine Sword Immortal had been in the ancient Tao origin world for 50,000 years. If there was any enmity between them, it should have happened 50,000 years ago. It's very simple. The way true monarch Bao Yan raised Xiao Cha made him not only arrogant and domineering, but also a little twisted and perverse. As for me, I'm a handsome immortal who is quite popular with female immortals. He didn't like me and wanted to cause trouble for me. However, I'm even more arrogant than him. Even if his father is true monarch Bao Yan, I'm not afraid. During the myriad immortal assembly in the heavenly court, I'd beat him up. The wine sword immortal took a sip of wine and was very proud. Jiang Xi. As expected of master. It's just that jealousy is a little melodramatic. Then what should I do now? Jiang Xi asked. After hearing what master said, it was obvious that this enmity was very deep. Now that he had fallen into immortal Xiao Cha's hands, it seemed like it would be very difficult for him to get out. With true monarch Bao Yan here, my words won't have any effect. Don't worry, wait for a while. The higher-ups of the sect will definitely step in. Xiao Cha's background is very strong, but if he dares to attack you, he will be crossing the line, the wine sword immortal said with a smile. Moreover, you even pulled out 2 big banners. Although true monarch Iron Mountain is slightly weaker than true monarch Bao Yan, true monarch Iron Mountain is very powerful. Even true monarch Iron Mountain is not as strong as true monarch Iron Mountain, but true monarch 6 virtuous is an ancient existence. Even true monarch Bao Yan doesn't dare to be presumptuous when he meets him, so you can rest assured, he added. Jiang Xi was indeed relieved. This matter was raised to the sect level, it would be easy to handle. Master Wine Sword Immortal's face was definitely not enough. Even if Master and Xiao Cha had no enmity, in front of true monarch Bao Yan, there was still a big gap. Forgotten Mountain Star System, Xiao Cha's palace. I'm so angry! It's fine if Wine Sword Immortal is arrogant in front of me, but his disciple dares to be arrogant in front of me too. After Immortal Xiao Cha returned, he no longer suppressed the anger in his heart. His violent aura raged in the 100,000 square kilometer hall. However, he could only be angry now. As for killing Jiang Xi, that was definitely not possible. He was not stupid. Since Jiang Xi was related to true monarch Iron Mountain and true monarch 6 virtuous, he could not touch Jiang Xi anymore. Otherwise, even if his father could save his life, he would not be able to escape punishment. Not far away, Immortal Wu Yi advised. Xiao Cha, it's just a little guy in the primordial soul realm. There is no need to be so angry. There will be plenty of opportunities to deal with him in the future. Wait for the future? This time I will lock him up for at least 1,000 years and directly cripple him, Xiao Cha said coldly. Immortal Wu Yi praised with a smile, but secretly scolded him as a good-for-nothing who could not see the situation clearly and was still hesitating. At the same time, in the 6th heaven of the Purple Heaven sect, in a palace with an area of 1,000,000 square kilometers, a figure that seemed to have existed since ancient times, wearing golden armor, sat high on the throne in the hall. Immortal Sun Yun knelt respectfully at the bottom of the hall. Looks like Bao Yan's son is really useless. He can't beat Wine Sword Immortal, so he came to find trouble with Wine Sword Immortal's disciple. What a good-for-nothing! The golden figure sneered. His majestic voice echoed in the hall. But he didn't think about who Jiang Xi is. So many higher-ups of Purple Heaven sect have bet on him, and even Dao Monarch has placed a piece. Does he think that he can convict Jiang Xi with just a groundless accusation? What a joke! Immortal Sun Yun was secretly shocked. Although there were some parts that he did not understand, he did not dare to ask. Follow my orders and release Jiang Xi. I was just worried that I would not have a chance to bet, the golden voice finally said. Chapter 480. Wu Yi lamented that he had lost a good opportunity to kill Jiang Xi. He didn't stay in the Forgotten Mountain star system for long. After discussing a few more matters with Xiao Tu, he left quietly. In the empty hall, Xiao Cha was the only one who was sulking. However, he quickly adjusted his mood. If it weren't for the Wine Sword Immortal, he wouldn't have cared about a nascent soul cultivator. In another 20,000 years, I will be able to completely refine the God Fiend's skull. At that time, it will be time for me to wash away my shame. The first one is the Wine Sword Immortal. However, that will have to wait until he can live until then. Thinking of this, Xiao Tu sneered. His smile was somewhat twisted. The greatest humiliation he had suffered in his life was being beaten up by the Wine Sword Immortal in front of all the immortals during the myriad immortal assembly of the Heavenly Court 60,000 years ago. Every time he thought of this, the anger in his heart couldn't be quelled for a long time. I'll cripple your disciple first. Consider it as collecting some interest. Xiao Tu's plan was to wait for a while until the number of people paying attention to this matter decreased. Then, he would cripple Jiang Xi. At this time, a guard outside the hall reported that Sun Yun had arrived. You want to plead for mercy? Humph, a sixth tribulation transcender dares to pretend to be a good person in front of me? He thought so in his heart, but he still had to put on an act. He asked the guard to invite Sun Yun in. Sun Yun, don't ask for a snub. Xiao Tu slightly raised his chin. You misunderstood. I'm not here to plead for mercy for Jiang Xi. I'm here to release Jiang Xi. Sun Yun smiled. After saying that, he took out a scroll. This is the decree of true monarch Duan Kong. Xiao Tu's face immediately turned cold. True monarch Duan Kong was a high-level member of the Purple Heaven sect. His strength was not weaker than his father's. Good, very good. Xiao Tu muttered in a low voice. The side hall where Jiang Xi was imprisoned was covered by a formation barrier. It was impossible for anyone below the Tribulation Transcender realm to break it. After chatting with his master, the Wine Sword Immortal, Jiang Xi was completely relieved and didn't care about this. He calmed down and carefully sorted out the gains and losses this time. Obviously, the harvest this time was huge. Over 1,000 Tribulation Transcender monster corpses were definitely worth 100 million points. Most importantly, according to Ni Shang's estimation, if he devoured all the immortal energy in these demon corpses, he would be able to refine 1 or 2 more layers of the Heavenly Tower's seal. Refining the first seal of the Heavenly Tower would allow him to unleash a 10,000th of the Heavenly Tower's power. Even if his current cultivation was at the Essence Soul stage, he could still easily smash a 9th Tribulation Transcender to death. What if he managed to refine the 2nd or 3rd level? Jiang Xi's heart was filled with anticipation. If this trump card worked, his future cultivation would be much more stable. Half a day later, there was a commotion outside the hall, and the array barrier disappeared. Jiang Xi knew that he was out of trouble. Sun Yun walked into the side palace and smiled. Jiang Xi, true monarch Duan Kong has personally given the order to release you. You are now free. True Lord Duan Kong? Jiang Xi asked. That's right. He's one of the leaders of the sect, Sun Yun replied. He didn't understand what Duan Kong meant by betting, but that didn't stop him from completing the bet. As long as the message was delivered, it was fine. Jiang Xi remembered this name and said, Senior Sun Yun, I still have to continue shopping for monster corpses, is that okay? You still haven't finished? Sun Yun was a little surprised. It had been half a month. There are 100 tokens, and I still haven't looked at half of them. Jiang Xi nodded. Okay, I'll take you to choose this time. Sun Yun didn't ask for the reason. That's not appropriate, right? I'll go by myself, there's no need to trouble Senior. Jiang Xi quickly refused. If someone followed him, he definitely couldn't use the Heavenly Tower to absorb the dissipating immortal power. It's okay, it's safer this way. If there's another assassination attempt, all the immortals in the Forgotten Mountain Star System will be punished by the Heavenly Court, Sun Yun said with a smile. Jiang Xi couldn't refuse this reason. If he refused again, it would make others suspicious. Thinking about it, Jiang Xi had already gained a lot this time, so he didn't think too much about it. He remained greedy, but he couldn't be captured by greed then. Under the guidance of immortal Sun Yun, he went to the depths of the Forgotten Mountain Star System. It took him 3 days to go through the remaining corpses of the 9th Tribulation Great Demons. 1 token represented 10 9th Tribulation Demon corpses, so 100 tokens represented 1,000 corpses. In the end, he chose 100 of the best quality corpses, completed the transaction, and left the Forgotten Mountain star system. Earth, Pak Sun Province, Heavenly Tower District. Although 200 years had passed and the environment on Earth had changed greatly, this district hadn't changed at all. In addition to the fact that it was the place where Earth's legendary powerhouse Jiang Xi grew up, it also benefited from Jiang Daoda's help. After returning home, Jiang Xi's hanging heart finally relaxed. This planet that seemed to be isolated from the rest of the universe was the only place that could give him a sense of security. Unlike other places in the universe, whether it was the ancient Dao origin world, the Dao Alliance Heavenly Court, or the Purple Heaven sect headquarters, he was always vigilant. Especially after the assassination attempt, his vigilance had become even higher. This also means that I've already entered the assassination list of the various races. I have to be more careful when I go out in the future. In the following days, Jiang Xi cultivated in seclusion at home. He left the demon corpses in the heavenly tower and let Anai Shang devour the immortal power to refine the seal. As for himself, he went all out to deduce Dao techniques and strive to break through the current bottlenecks of his 4 Dao techniques. This way, his strength would increase significantly. As for the surveillance missions given by the sect, he would occasionally go to the pale blue planet to deal with them. Most of the work was still left to immortal Lu Chuan. Apart from cultivating, he would spend time with Jiang Daoda to gather with his relatives and friends who were still alive. His days were especially leisurely. In the blink of an eye, 2 years had passed. Late at night, the 2 moons hung in the sky. As usual, Jiang Xi sat cross-legged on the villa's balcony to deduce Dao techniques. Footsteps sounded. Jiang Xi opened his eyes. It was Jiang Daoda walking up with light steps. "What's wrong? You've only been in seclusion for a month and a half this time, and you can't sit still anymore?" Jiang Xi laughed. "No way, I've already broken the record. The last time I was in seclusion, I was only in seclusion for a month and 14 days. This time, I've been in seclusion for an entire day." Jiang Daoda wrinkled her nose, dissatisfied with Jiang Xi's words. In the past few years, because Jiang Xi had been staying on Earth, Jiang Daoda had also chosen to return to Earth to cultivate. She was someone who could not stay idle. She would often go into seclusion for a period of time and drag Jiang Xi out for a stroll. However, her cultivation had not fallen behind. After many deep slumber, she had already reached the perfected nascent soul stage. "Where do you want to go this time? The ruins of the Sea Clan at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean?" Jiang Xi asked with a smile. "It's not about going out to play." Jiang Daoda shook her head. "I've been feeling like I'm being watched recently. Do you feel the same?" When Riverward heard this, his expression immediately became serious. Chapter 481. Spying? "What kind of spying?" Jiang Xi asked. "It's coming from there." Jiang Daoda pointed. Jiang Xi looked in the direction she was pointing and thought, indeed. There were 2 bright moons hanging in the sky like silver plates, as if they had existed for countless years. And the direction Jiang Daoda was pointing at was the 2nd moon. Jiang Xi realized the seriousness of the matter, even though he had already guessed it. Back when he was still receiving the inheritance in the Temple of Kongming, his clone in the 1st moon completed the spiritual cultivation. At that moment, his clone vaguely felt that someone was watching him. But that feeling disappeared in a flash, as if it was an illusion. Because of that, he even specially conducted a carpet search in the 1st moon, but in the end, he found nothing. Also, before he obtained the heavenly tower, he discovered that the various grotto heavens and secret realms on Earth seemed to have been swept clean by someone, leaving nothing valuable behind. All of these made Jiang Xi suspect that there might be some powerful existence hiding on Earth. Later on, he asked Anai Shang, but the answer he got was no. However, Anai Shang revealed a rare piece of information, which was that the ancient orthodoxies on Earth had left long ago. Since there was no powerful existence on Earth, then there was only one place that could be. The 2nd moon. The symbol of the beginning of the Earth's spirit chi revival era. So far, Earth had experienced a total of 5 spirit chi revivals. The fourth time was because the remnant spirit of his master, Taoist Ge, dissipated, and the heaven and earth spirit Lhasa was unsealed. The other 4 times were all related to the second moon. 200 years ago, he had tried many times to enter it, but in the end, it all ended in failure. Because the second moon seemed to be in another space-time dimension, he could see it but not reach it. He could see it but could not touch it. I don't think I've explored the second moon since I came back this time. Jiang Xi stared at the second moon in the night sky. The Mid-Autumn Festival had just passed, and the 2 moons were especially bright. Combined with the spying feeling Jiang Dudu felt, he felt that something might have happened to the second moon. After thinking about it, he said to Jiang Dudu, I'm going to let my clone go up there to take a look. You protect my main body. Then be careful. Jiang Dudu's expression was very serious. Because an avatar was also a life. Jiang Xi nodded and closed his eyes. He focused all of his consciousness on his clone. At the same time, Jiang Xi's clone on the first moon left the dilapidated moon palace and flew towards the other moon in the starry sky. Although they looked close, the distance between the 2 moons was actually 36,000 kilometers. The doppelganger flew at top speed for 2 minutes, and it was very close to the second moon. Because all of his consciousness was on the clone, Jiang Xi immediately realized that this planet, which seemed to be the same as the first moon, had some changes. It felt more real. The brand new Guanghan Palace seemed to have come alive. The ethereal celestial voice drifted in his ears. He's alive? This thought surfaced in Riverwood's mind. He calmed himself down and flew toward the second moon without hesitation. Buzz, an inexplicable fluctuation appeared in the starry sky, as if it had traveled through time and space. Jiang Xi seemed to have fallen into a time vortex. His entire body became absent-minded. His original body on Earth fell into a deep sleep immediately. The clone used the last bit of consciousness to try to stay awake. In a daze, he saw a golden-armored warrior holding a golden scroll appear in the starry sky outside the moon. After the scroll was unfolded, a booming voice resounded through the universe. By the Emperor's decree, the Guanghan Palace shall be built today. All immortals shall congratulate the Guanghan Fairy. A female immortal in white stood proudly on the moon. Although her face was blurry, she had a peerless beauty and peerless beauty. A magnificent and magnificent palace suddenly descended. Time and space changed. Tens of thousands of years had passed. Jiang Xi was like a spectator of time and space. He saw that in the starry sky outside the moon. The female immortal in white stood above the Guanghan Palace. Behind her, there were 100,000 female immortals in silver armor. They were mighty. The Guanghan lineage requests to fight in the war of conquest. Jiang Xi subconsciously turned his head. He vaguely heard. The Kunlun lineage requests to fight in the war of conquest. The war of conquest. He wanted to listen a little more, but time and space changed again. He saw a path to heaven that looked like a river of stars. It extended out from the starry sky not far away. The mighty army of immortals stepped onto the path to heaven with a determined aura. After some time, only white bones were left on the path to heaven. Everything was silent. At this moment, Jiang Xi's clone finally couldn't hold on any longer and completely fell into a deep sleep. Jiang Xi, go to the Linjiang District project in the afternoon. Hey, didn't you hear what I said? Fuck, I'm giving you a fucking salary. Are you dreaming? I'll give you 10 seconds. If I see you still in your seat, I'll kick you out. Jiang Xi was in a daze as if he hadn't woken up yet. He was kicked out of the company by his boss. The scorching sun in the sky told him that summer was over, but it was still very hot. What kind of hot weather is this? It's too fucking hot. No, I'm already at the Essence Soul stage. Why would I be afraid of the heat? Essence Soul stage? Jiang Xi shuddered and suddenly woke up. He stood at the entrance of the Qingjiang building and looked at the pedestrians on the street, the cars speeding on the road, and the delivery boys racing against time. It was as if he was suddenly pulled back to reality from a dream. So it was a dream. Riverwood let out a long sigh. It was very difficult to remember the contents of a dream after waking up. However, this dream was a little long, so he remembered a lot of things. Compared to the dream, his reality was really terrible. He was close to 30 years old, had no house, no car, and naturally no girlfriend. He was a typical product. It wasn't that he didn't have the ability, but that reality was too cruel. As a business elite of the company, he still had some savings. However, without the help of his parents, it would probably take him at least 10 years of hard work to get a house in this kind of new first-tier city. The premise was that the speed at which he earned money far exceeded the speed at which the housing prices rose. Of course, if he accepted his fate, he could still survive in the small city in his hometown. However, Jiang Xi didn't want to accept his fate. The busy work and life made him quickly forget all the contents of the dream. Every day, he went to work at 2 o'clock and 1 o'clock. When he was resting, he would watch movies, read novels, and play games. Or he would go to a food stall with a few of his best friends. Only when he woke up in the middle of the night would he occasionally remember the contents of the dream. He only remembered a few key words: Jiang Dudu, Xian Tian, Li Bai Bai, Liquor Sword Immortal, Taoist Ge, Purple Heaven Sect. Who are these people? Who am I? Jiang Xi's eyes were full of confusion. He really couldn't remember. He had almost forgotten. Chapter 482. A month passed in the blink of an eye. That day, a lady from the company stopped Jiang Xi after work. Jiang Xi, tomorrow is the Mid-Autumn Festival holiday. Do you want to go out for a meal? The lady was very shy. What meal? I still have to play games. I'm not going, Jiang Xi said righteously. Humph. The lady walked away fiercely. Jiang Xi held his head and felt a headache. He wanted to say yes, but there was a voice in his head vaguely telling him that he was not allowed to hook up with vixens. He looked up at the desk calendar on his desk. September 20th, 2021, the 14th day of the 8th lunar month. Tomorrow was really the Mid-Autumn Festival. The next day, Jiang Xi and a few of his best friends made an appointment to climb mountains, have a picnic, and admire the moon. When they were climbing the mountain, Jiang Xi's performance shocked all of his best friends. Jiang Xi, when did your stamina become so good? You used to be out of breath when climbing a building. You're simply inhuman. It's such a tall mountain, but you didn't even sweat. Hurry up, I'll let you carry everything. Jiang Xi laughed and scolded them for being weaklings. Then, he took the ingredients and utensils for the picnic and walked up the mountain without blushing or gasping for breath. In fact, he was also puzzled. When did his body become so strong? Although he usually trained, he shouldn't be this strong. This mountain of more than 2,000 meters was like flat ground to him now. At the top of the mountain, the work of the picnic was naturally left to Jiang Xi, who had the best stamina. I'm a big shot at the primordial soul stage, and I still have to serve you small fries, Jiang Xi subconsciously complained. He didn't notice that his words were different. His best friends, who were as tired as a pile of mud, only thought that Jiang Xi was talking nonsense. After 3 rounds of wine, everyone was intoxicated and tipsy. Soon, the moon came out. Hey, did I drink too much? Why are there 2 moons in the sky? Someone mumbled in surprise. Looks like you really drank too much. I think there are 4 moons. Someone agreed. The few of them chatted and laughed, and didn't feel anything unusual. Only Jiang Xi looked up at the sky in a daze. The 2 bright stars were like silver plates hanging quietly in the night sky. At this moment he woke up. Everything was clear now. So this was a dream. A bunch of idiots! Jiang Xi looked at his friends with a complicated expression. This should be a dream created from his memories before his rebirth. Everything he was experiencing now should be fake. Goodbye, brothers, Jiang Xi said softly. He didn't say goodbye before his rebirth, but now he did. The discussion among his buddies stopped abruptly. They looked at Jiang Xi blankly. A gentle breeze blew past, time stood still, and everything gradually became blurry. Time and space changed again, and 200 years passed. Jiang Xi became a spectator of time and space once again. This time, it was a slum world. A skinny and short little girl was stumbling as she ran. Her tattered clothes couldn't hide the footprints and bruises on her body. Although the group of homeless children had snatched half a steamed bun, they didn't expect her to hide the other half. She came to the basement of a ruined building. A weak young man was lying on a tattered quilt in the corner. "Brother, eat quickly. You'll be better after eating." The little girl held half a steamed bun with both hands and handed it to the young man. Seeing the young man eat the steamed bun, the little girl's dirty face revealed the brightest smile. In the days that followed, when the young man's illness was completely cured, the situation of the two finally changed. The young man was different from those homeless children. He had a clear goal in life and knew how to change himself. Time passed. The two first took off their homeless clothes, then set up a stall to earn money, rent a house, study, go to school. From the bottom of the new society, they struggled all the way up. Jiang Xi watched everything from the side. He didn't understand why this time vortex would trace back to him from the ancient era. After an unknown period of time, the scene in front of him shattered like a mirror. Everything disappeared into thin air. At this moment, he was on a bluestone in the starry sky. Below him was the brand new Guanghan Palace. Further below, there was the second moon. However, these weren't Jiang Xi's focus. Because in front of him, there was a burly old man in coarse clothes sitting cross-legged. The old man's white hair was messy, and his face was rough. He gave off a barbaric feeling. Or it could be said that the old man was the definition of the word barbaric. Jiang Xi didn't sense any powerful aura, but his intuition told him that the old man was a peerless beast that seemed to be able to devour everything. "You're here." The old man grinned. "Senior knows me?" Jiang Xi didn't let down his guard. "My name is Qin Shi. I don't know you, but you know me," the old man said. This specious sentence left Jiang Xi scratching his head in confusion. "You should have a lot of questions. I can give you 4 chances to ask." The bluestone old man smiled. Jiang Xi thought for a moment and said, "First question. What I experienced just now, did Senior do it?" "I just started it. Everything that followed was made up by your memory," the bluestone old man said. Jiang Xi thought for a moment and asked, "Second question. Senior, are you from Earth?" "Yes and no. I come from the Mountain Sea realm, which later became the Mountain Sea Star." "Mountain Sea realm? Mountain Sea Star?" Just remember these 2 names. Knowing too much won't do you any good. "Oh. Then the unanswered questions don't count, right?" "Haha, it's been a long time since someone dared to bargain with me. If you don't want to count, then so be it." Jiang Xi nodded. Third question. Is the recovery of Earth's spiritual energy controlled by Senior? "No, I'm just an executor." The bluestone old man shook his head. "Executor?" Jiang Xi was really shocked this time. Bluestone didn't have the aura of a tribulation transcender. In other words, Bluestone was at least a perfected lord. No, he was most likely a Tao lord. This was because a long time ago, when Taoist Go was trapped in the first moon. In order to find the lost Purple Heaven Sword manual, the Purple Heaven sect had searched the starry sky where the solar system was located. But in the end, they found nothing. Now, it seemed that the main reason why Earth hadn't been discovered by the Purple Heaven sect was because of the Bluestone old man. If a Tao Lord had participated in the search at that time, then only a Tao Lord would have been able to avoid being found. And the Bluestone old man said that he was just an executor? Then, was there someone more powerful behind him? A heavenly venerable? Jiang Xi was shocked. There were heavenly venerables on Earth. One had to know that in the entire human race of the universe, there was only one heavenly venerable in the Taoist sect. "You have one more question." The Bluestone old man chuckled. Jiang Xi took a deep breath. He really wanted to ask about Bluestone's cultivation and whether there were heavenly venerables on Earth. But he held back in the end. This was because a thought popped up in his mind, and he blurted out. "Last question. What is the relationship between the 3 sects and 6 sects of the Tao Alliance and Earth?" Chapter 483. After saying this, Riverward suddenly realized that he had neglected such an important question for so long. The Tao Alliance consisted of the Taoist sect, the Buddhist sect, the Sword sect, the Purple Heaven sect, and the Moon sect. There were too many similarities between these 9 immortal Tao sects and the legends of Earth. Why had he never thought of going there to investigate? No, he had definitely thought of this before, but why had he forgotten? This feeling was as if someone had erased his memories. Do you find it strange? The boorish-looking Bluestone elder had a half-smile on his face. He had seen through Jiangxi's thoughts. Was it Senior's doing? Jiangxi asked. It's not within the scope of the answer, so I don't know. The Bluestone elder shook his head. Jiangxi. Then, Senior, please answer the 4th question. The Bluestone elder smiled. You can think of Earth as the Tao Alliance's ancestral land, a forgotten place. That's it. That's it. Jiangxi felt as if he had wasted a precious opportunity to ask questions. He could also think of what the Bluestone elder had said. Anyone with a brain would be able to guess this conclusion. The conclusion you guessed is the same as what I told you, but the meaning is different. The Bluestone elder said. Jiangxi nodded. That was true. A definite answer would definitely have a different impact on him in the future compared to a vague answer. The questions are over. I have something to remind you of. The Bluestone elder suddenly said solemnly. Senior, please speak. Jiangxi remained respectful. In the near future, Earth will face a crisis. You must be mentally prepared. The Bluestone elder's words were shocking. What crisis? Even Senior can't stop it? Jiangxi was frightened. How big of a crisis was that? I'm leaving, the Bluestone elder said. What he meant was that he could stop it, but he didn't want to. Senior, is it okay if you leave later? Jiangxi asked. You have to face this crisis alone. The Bluestone elder shook his head. Don't worry, it's not a big problem. Jiangxi nodded slightly, but he still felt a little uneasy. There's one more thing. I want to take Jiangdudu away. If she stays here, there will be trouble. The Bluestone old man's words shocked Jiangxi once again. Why? Daodu is only at the nascent soul stage. The Bluestone old man remained silent. Jiangxi was helpless. This big shot was really tight-lipped. However, he could also guess a thing or two. Every time the spirit chi on Earth recovered, Jiangdudu would inexplicably fall into a deep sleep, and then her cultivation would be greatly improved. It was obvious that Jiangdudu was hiding a lot of secrets. Since Old Man Bluestone proposed to take away Jiangdudu, there must be a reason. Besides, even if he wanted to stop them, he couldn't. After thinking about it, Jiangxi said, Then where can I find you in the future? The Bluestone old man stretched out his hand as if creating something out of thin air. Blue gravel flowed in his hand, and soon a Bluestone token was condensed. No matter where you are, you can contact me through this token. If I'm in a good mood, I'll send you a message. The Bluestone old man said with a smile. Jiangxi took the token with great joy. As for the Bluestone old man's words, he didn't take it to heart at all. It was fine as long as he could contact him. This was a big backer. He scanned the Bluestone token with his spiritual sense, and was surprised to find that there was no mark of the Eye of Ascension. Could it be that this method of communication was not through the Eye of Ascension? Before he could ask, Old Man Bluestone waved his sleeve, and Jiangdudu's figure appeared out of thin air. Jiangdudu was a little confused. She was still on Earth a moment ago, guarding Jiangxi's original body, who had fallen into a deep sleep. The next moment, space changed, and they arrived at the second moon. Jiangdudu's gaze locked onto Jiangxi first. It's like this. Jiangxi coughed and briefly explained the situation. I'm not leaving. Jiangdudu looked at the Bluestone old man warily. Old Man Bluestone opened his mouth and smiled at her. Jiangdudu just sneered. Listen to me. Haven't you always wanted to surpass me? If you cultivate with this senior, you'll have a chance to surpass me. Jiangxi persuaded. Jiangxi, are you selling me out? Jiangdudu's face was sullen, and she was very unhappy. How is that possible? Jiang Xi explained in detail, stating the pros and cons. After listening to him, Jiang Dudu fell into a short silence. She was no longer willful. She knew her own situation. If what Old Man Bluestone said was true, and Earth was in danger, she would only be a burden to Jiang Xi if she stayed. She was not as strong as Jiang Xi. Then you must be careful, Jiang Dudu said seriously. Don't worry, Senior Bluestone said it's not a big problem. Besides, don't you know me? Jiang Xi smiled. You just have to follow Senior and cultivate well. Riverward exhorted in the end. Jiang Dudu nodded. Old Man Bluestone did not say anything else. Waves appeared in the starry sky. Suddenly, space changed. Jiang Xi felt his vision blur, and Jiang Dudu and Old Man Bluestone in front of him disappeared. What disappeared was the brand new moon palace and the second moon. In the nearby starry sky, only the first moon 36 kilometers away was left. This change was unexpected. Old Man Bluestone did not tell him that the second moon would disappear as well. Earth is going to be lively now. The scene of two moons hanging in the sky had existed for more than 300 years. Now that it had suddenly disappeared, it was definitely big news to the humans living on Earth. Then, Jiang Xi hid his clone in the broken moon palace of the first moon and his consciousness returned to his original body. After waking up, his spiritual awareness covered the entire world. Indeed, the whole world was in chaos. Everyone was discussing why the second moon had disappeared. The higher-ups of the Great Xia Alliance were also taking emergency measures. A small number of cultivators who had reached the nascent soul stage were preparing to go to the starry sky to investigate. Jiang Xi thought for a while and sent a message to the higher-ups of the Great Xia Alliance, asking them to calm down. With his strength and status, he easily calmed down this storm. Some people who knew him came to his house to ask him about the inside story. Of course, Jiang Xi would not divulge any information to them. For more than 200 years, under Jiang Dudu's secret control, the entire Earth had been in a state of isolation. There was no contact with the outside world, therefore, some cultivators who had reached the nascent soul stage still did not know about the Universal Tao Alliance. In recent years, there were people who went to the first moon to investigate, but no one found the ancient interstellar teleportation formation. This was because Jiang Xi had set up a formation barrier there a long time ago. If one's cultivation level was not higher than his, they would definitely not be able to detect the existence of the formation barrier. After forcibly calming down the storm caused by the disappearance of the second moon, Jiang Xi did not relax and continued to work hard on his cultivation. Old Man Bluestone did not give me an exact time. I have to start preparing now. Chapter 484. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. The order on Earth had basically returned to normal. Due to the deliberate control of public opinion by the Great Xia Alliance, the storm of the disappearance of the second moon had completely subsided. At first, everyone was very alarmed that a moon was missing from the sky. However, as time passed, many people realized that it did not matter if it was missing. It did not have any special effect. At most, they would talk about it during their leisure time. In this incident, although Jiang Xi played a leading role, he did not choose to appear in front of the public. Therefore, there were still very few people who knew that he had returned. Jiang Xi was like a hermit, cultivating in seclusion every day. On this day, as usual, he was deducing Tao techniques at home. Suddenly, a notification from the experience panel sounded in his mind. Deduction successful, you have comprehended sword intent. Experience points plus 200 million. The pleasant notification made Jiang Xi ecstatic. He finally succeeded. He had comprehended the sword Tao during his first year in the ancient Tao source realm. Calculating the time, it had been more than 130 years since then. This speed could only be considered normal for a core disciple of the Purple Heaven sect. However, with the help of the XP panel, this speed was too slow. Logically speaking, he should have broken through in at most 10 years. Jiang Xi was very clear about the reason for all this. It was because he was walking on too many paths at the same time. Sword Dao, departing fire, gale, and Vajra, 4 Dao techniques. Dao techniques reinforced and restrained each other, and would interfere with each other. This was a principle that all cultivators of Dao techniques understood. The difficulty of advancing on 4 paths at the same time was at least 100 times that of advancing on a single Dao technique. This was also the main reason why Jiang Xi had not comprehended any new Dao techniques. Back then, the 5-colored palm that he had obtained in the battle pattern continent was left behind by the legendary 5 elements battle emperor, Dao Lord, of the battle pattern continent. It contained all the 5 elements Dao techniques. He had already comprehended the fire elemental Dao technique, departing fire, and the metal elemental Dao technique, Vajra. He could use the 5-colored palm to continue comprehending the remaining 3 5 elements Dao techniques. However, he did not do so. If he walked on 3 more paths, the difficulty of advancing would probably increase by 1,000 times. Perhaps he would have to wait another 1,000 years for a breakthrough in sword intent. After 1,000 years, the genius disciples in the same batch as him would probably have already left him in the dust. The difficulty of the 4 paths I'm on now is just right. The increase in strength is also very obvious. Jiang Xi knew how to choose. These 4 Taoist techniques played an important role in his ability to possess combat strength comparable to that of a late-stage Tao integration stage cultivator. Whether it was the Tao fusion art that he created himself, the Tao pattern art, or the Tao seal art that he created later on, it was all because of the enhancement from the 4 Tao arts that he was able to unleash such great power. Now I've made a breakthrough in sword principle. When gale, departing fire, and Vajra all make breakthroughs, my strength will undergo an earth-shaking change. The 3 secret techniques, Tao fusion technique, Tao pattern technique, and Tao seal technique all emphasized balance. All 4 Taoist techniques had to be at the same level in order to reach a higher level. Therefore, the breakthrough in Sword Tao was only a prelude. He opened the experience panel to check some of the changes. Tao technique, sword intent, none 11 billion, amplitude, 2,000 times sword intent. 1 billion experience points is still acceptable. When the realm of sword intent increases, the amplitude of my spiritual power will also increase greatly. Jiang Xi speculated that after the realm of sword intent reached perfection, his spiritual power amplitude would reach 20,000 times. The Tao fusion art could increase his spiritual power amplitude by another 4 times. However, due to the imbalance in the realms of the 4 Taoist techniques, the Tao fusion art could not be used for the time being. However, 20,000 times of spiritual power amplitude was already more than 2 times higher than the 8,000 times of spiritual power amplitude when he used the Tao fusion art previously. In a numerical sense, it was more than 2 times higher. In terms of actual combat strength, it was more than 2 times higher. I should be able to reach the level of Lone Star. I'm definitely still very far from the first tribulation transcender level. Jiang Xi thought to himself previously. During the Cloud Summit competition, Lone Star had crushed everyone and killed him with just 3 slashes. Even so, Lone Star's combat strength had not reached the first tribulation transcender level. Otherwise, he would not have died in the Hell level mission. Currently, my greatest trump card is still the Heavenly Building. In the past 6 months, Anai Shan had been devouring the immortal energy of the tribulation transcender monsters' corpses, striving to refine the first seal of the Heavenly Building. However, the progress was very slow. After all, it was an origin treasure. It's hard to meet a tribulation transcender opponent now, so there's no need for the Heavenly Building. In the following time, Jiang Xi began to focus on deducing the paths of Gale, Leaf Fire, and Vajra. His clone was in charge of refining the spiritual fruits and increasing the level of his sword intent. It was worth mentioning that half a year ago, after being reminded by old man Qin Shi, he left the Heavenly Building. His avatar left the solar system and hid in a remote life planet in the Milky Way. This was his last life-saving method. 3 months later. Pale blue star region, in a desolate galaxy. Waves appeared in the dark starry sky like the surface of water. A supreme-grade spirit artifact green flying ship shuttled out, and then shuttled into the source space again. In the starry sky tens of thousands of kilometers away, 3 black flying ships appeared and did the same. This was an interstellar chase. In the green flying ship in front, 2 female cultivators anxiously controlled the flying ship, constantly shuttling back and forth. One of them was petite, while the other was like a big sister next door, gentle and dignified. Although anxious, she still maintained her calm. Big sister one, what should we do? It'll take us another day and a half to reach the nearest life planet. The petite female cultivator couldn't help but ask. When Yoshin was silent. According to the difference in speed between the 2 sides, the 3 black flying ships behind them would catch up with them in about half a day. Death tribulation. In fact, she was already very lucky to be able to survive until now. 3 days ago, she led the Mountain Sea Star Trade's patrol team to a random life planet to inspect the business of the Mountain Sea Star Trade, but she didn't expect to be ambushed on that planet. Those people didn't kill them at first, just took away their communication beads and flying ships, and put them under house arrest. This also gave her a chance. She took advantage of the opportunity to escape with the supreme-grade spirit artifact she had hidden. That was how the interstellar chase came to be. Lil P said before that the Mountain Sea Star Trade only took 200 years to reach this scale. Extensive development will definitely lead to all kinds of problems, but the problem this time is too big. When Yoshin's heart was full of bitterness. I hope Lil P can discover this problem in time. No, if I die this time, she will definitely discover this problem. When Yoshin's eyes became resolute. Jiangduda had her life slip. If she died and the life slip shattered, it would attract Jiangduda's attention even if there was no message. At this time, in the starry sky behind them, another flying ship emitting immortal aura appeared. An immortal artifact flying ship. At the same time, a powerful spiritual sense pressure directly imprisoned Wen Yoshin. Dao integration! Wen Yoshin's expression changed drastically. Chapter 485. The headquarters of the Mountain Sea Star Trade was located in Enlin City on planet Dongyuan in the Milky Way system. 200 years ago, Jiang Xi had become a core disciple of the third sky of the Purple Heaven sect through the 9 regions genius battle. As a reward, the Tsengyan sect, which ruled the entire Kanglin Star region, transferred the ownership of the Milky Way system to Jiang Xi. From then on, the entire Milky Way system, which had more than 40,000 planets with life, became Jiang Xi's private territory. Since it was her own territory, Jiang Daoda made the decision to move the headquarters of the Mountain Sea Star Trade to planet Dongyuan, the core planet of the Milky Way system. One day, when Jiang Xi received the news that Wen Yoshin and the patrol team had gone missing, he realized the seriousness of the matter and immediately rushed to planet Dongyuan from Earth. Wen Yoshin was the second most important person in the Mountain Sea Star Trade. Her disappearance had a great impact on the Mountain Sea Star Trade and could easily cause unrest. Besides, Jiang Daoda had been taken away by the old man with Bluestone. In this way, the Mountain Sea Star Trade was almost leaderless. With only Wen Feng and Shen Wansi left, it was difficult to control the entire Mountain Sea Star Trade. After all, the scale of the Mountain Sea Star Trade was now very large. Especially after Jiang Xi became a core disciple of the Purple Heaven sect, the Mountain Sea Star Trade had embarked on a rapid development path. In the entire Kanglin Star region, the Mountain Sea Star Trade was ranked second in terms of interstellar trade after the Tsengyan sect's Tsengyan Star Trade. According to the overall value, the Mountain Sea Star Trade was worth more than 100 million premium spirit crystals. In terms of points, it was 1 million points. For so many years, every time Jiang Xi leveled up, his doppelganger had to refine a large number of spiritual fruits to increase the experience points on the experience points panel. These spiritual fruits did not appear out of thin air. They were all purchased with the funds provided by the Mountain Sea Star Trade. It could be said that without the financial support of the Mountain Sea Star Trade, the speed of his strength improvement would be at least 40% slower. Moreover, for Jiang Xi, the Mountain Sea Star Trade was not only an important asset, but also his and Jiang Daoda's hard work. Jiang Daoda had devoted a lot of effort and energy to the development of the Mountain Sea Star trade for more than 200 years. Hence, Jiang Xi would not allow anything to happen to Mountain Sea Star. Anyone who dared to touch the Mountain Sea Star trade would be cutting off his flesh and drinking his blood. Of course, as Wen Yoxin's senior granduncle, he had to fulfill the responsibility and obligation of an elder to bring Wen Yoxin back safely. Through the first moon's interstellar teleportation array, they were directly transported to planet Dongyuan. After arriving at the Mountain Sea Star Trade headquarters, Wen Feng and Shen Wansi were already waiting. The two of them were unable to contact Jiang Dudu, so they could only contact Jiang Xi. Marshal Granduncle. Wen Feng's face was filled with worry. Jiang Ge. Shen Wansi let out a sigh of relief because he had found his pillar of support. Tell me the details. Jiang Xi didn't waste any time. Yes, sister has been patrolling the business of the Mountain and Sea Star trade in the various life planets in recent years. In order to ensure the suddenness and accuracy of the patrol, she randomly chose a star system every time. 3 days ago, she went out with a patrol team like before. Not long after, all of them disappeared. Wen Feng's expression was very ugly. I've asked the relatives of all the patrolmen and found that some of their life slips have shattered. Shen Wansi added. Where's Yoxin's life slip? Jiang Xi asked. Sister is still alive. This is the location of her last message. Wen Feng took out his astrolabe and summoned a star map phantom, marking the approximate area. Shuozhou star system. After Jiang Xi saw the location, he immediately took out his communication pearl and sent a message to Immortal Lu Chuan, who was guarding the supervision department for him. As the elder of the supervision department of the Purple Heaven Sect's Blue Branch, he was in charge of supervising the various affairs of the Purple Heaven Sect in the Blue Planet. With the connections and power of the supervision department, he could quickly gather information on what had happened in the Shuozhou star system in the past few days. A moment later, Lu Chuan took a teleportation array and personally rushed to planet Dongyuan. When Wen Feng and Shen Wansi found out that Lu Chuan was a third tribulation transcender, they were shocked. This was the first time they had seen an immortal. Then, they saw Lu Chuan respectfully bow to Jiang Xi. The two of them looked at each other and saw hope. Sir, all the members of the supervision department in the Shuozhou star system have been dispersed. With our surveillance network, we will be able to gather accurate information in half a day at most. Lu Chuan said respectfully he was originally a subordinate of the military minister, Chen Hu, but because he had offended a sixth tribulation transcender of the Purple Heaven Sect, he had been suppressed. After Jiang Xi returned to the Blue Planet and became the elder of the supervision department of the Purple Heaven Sect's Blue Branch, he had helped him solve this problem. Although Chen Hu's request also played a part in it, Jiang Xi had recognized his worth and recognized his worth. This was something that could be confirmed. As a third tribulation transcender, Lu Chuan did not forget Jiang Xi's kindness. Not only did he help Jiang Xi take care of the entire supervision department's affairs, but he also helped him. This time, when he received Jiang Xi's message, he immediately rushed over. This also showed his attitude. Half a day. It's about time. Jiang Xi nodded slightly and waited for the news calmly. He was unlike Wen Feng and Shen Wansi, whose anxiety was written all over their faces. Half a day later, Lu Chuan received a message and said, Sir, it has been confirmed that Wen Yoxin once appeared on planet Kalu of the Shuozhou star system. Jiang Xi stood up and said to Wen Feng and Shen Wansi, I will personally make a trip to planet Kalu. You guys guard the Mountain Sea Star trade well. Wen Feng could not help but say, Uncle Granduncle, you must save my sister. Jiang Ge, I will wait for your good news. Shen Wansi said. Don't worry. Jiang Xi smiled. Then, he and Lu Chuan left planet Dongyuan through the interstellar teleportation array. Shuozhou star system, planet Kalu, in the hall of the supervision department's manor. Jiang Xi sat at the top of the hall. Lu Chuan stood beside him like a guard. Below him was the person in charge of the monitoring station, a nascent soul cultivator. He said, Sirs, just now, we received feedback from our network on planet Kalu. 3 days ago, When Yoshin and the other 10 people from the Mountain Sea Star Trade did come to planet Kalu, but they quickly left on a flying ship. Is there anything unusual about the Mountain Sea Star Trade branch here? Jiang Xi asked in a deep voice. The person in charge hesitated for a moment before saying, "There's nothing unusual. It's the same as before." "Humph, it's abnormal if there's nothing unusual." Jiang Xi sneered and said, "Send someone to capture all the staff of the Mountain Sea Star Trade branch." The person in charge hurriedly took his leave and led his subordinates to capture the staff. Lu Chuan watched from the side and nodded slightly because there was nothing wrong with Jiang Xi's judgment. The second in command of the Mountain Sea Star Trade had disappeared not long after leaving planet Kalu. However, the Mountain Sea Star Trade branch did not panic at all. Everything was normal. On the surface, this was professionalism and worthy of praise. The truth was that they might be hiding something. It was suspicious. Chapter 486. Soon, the thousands of staff members of the Mountain Sea Planet branch were forcefully brought in front of Jiang Xi. The person in charge of the branch was a golden-haired young man who looked very tough. His cultivation was at the late stage of the nascent soul realm. There were also 7 cultivators at the middle and early stage of the nascent soul realm. The remaining 1,000 or so staff members were all at the golden core realm. Although planet Kalu was not the core planet of the Shuozhou star system, its overall development level was not much worse. Therefore, the Mountain Sea Star Trade had set up a relatively large branch here. Jiang Xi looked at everyone expressionlessly. Basically, everyone was a little flustered because just now, a group of fully armed soldiers had rushed into their office and brought them here. They did not know what had happened, nor did they know Jiang Xi. Only the golden-haired young man at the late stage of the nascent soul realm was slightly calm. He knew Jiang Xi's identity. "Subordinate greets Lord Jiang Xi." He bowed respectfully. His blonde hair was very elegant, and it was obvious that he was a very good person. The person in charge took the lead, and the staff members below also hurriedly bowed. However, it was very messy and not orderly. Jiang Xi did not care and did not say anything. He directly said to Lu Chuan, "Don't waste time. Use your bewitching technique and interrogate everyone." As soon as these words came out, some people were confused, some people's expressions changed slightly, and some people became even more flustered. They began to discuss in low voices. "Humph!" Lu Chuan's face was stern as he spread out his spiritual sense. Among the 1,000 or so people with different expressions, the highest cultivation level was only at the late stage of the nascent soul realm. How could they resist the bewitching technique of a 3-tribulation transcender? Immediately, the hall fell silent, and everyone fell into a daze. The following interrogation was very simple. 2 questions. Do you know Wen Yoshin? Do you know her whereabouts? Under the bewitching state, no one lied. Either you know her or you don't. Either you know her or you don't. Only one person's answer was different. The golden-haired young man said with a dull expression, "When Yoshin was brought to planet Caleb by White Feather Star Trade." "How do you know?" Jiang Xi asked. "Because I'm from White Feather Star Trade. I was sent to Mountain Sea Star Trade as a spy." Upon hearing this, Jiang Xi sneered. It was just as he had expected. "Is there a planet called Cairo in the Shuozhou galaxy?" he asked Chuquin, the person in charge of the station. "There are more than 30,000 life-bearing planets in the Shuozhou star system. I know all of them by heart. There is no Cairo star." Chuquin shook his head. He thought for a moment before saying, "It might be a barren planet that hasn't been registered in the Tao Alliance's heavenly court." "Then have you heard of White Feather Star Trade?" Jiang Xi asked again. Chuquin pondered for a long time before replying. "No, it should be an unknown interstellar trading group." Jiang Xi nodded and said to Lu Chuan, "Remove their bewitching spell." Lu Chuan followed his instructions. More than 1,000 people instantly came to their senses, but many of them were still in a daze. However, the golden-haired young man's expression changed drastically. He still remembered what he had said when he was in a trance. "Spare my life, my lord! I was also forced." The golden-haired young man knelt on the ground with a pale face. Jiang Xi did not say a word. He only stretched out his hand and beckoned. Spiritual power surged. The late-stage nascent soul realm golden-haired young man uncontrollably arrived in front of Jiang Xi. No matter how hard he struggled, it was useless. He could only beg for mercy. He no longer had his previous carefree appearance. However, how could Jiang Xi spare such a traitor? He really wanted to know who was so bold as to poach him and touch his business. He pressed his palm on the golden-haired young man's head. Soul search. It was the most efficient interrogation method. After 3 to 4 breaths, the golden-haired young man lost his breath. The 1,000 people all knelt on the ground, trembling in fear. They were afraid that Jiang Xi would also search their souls. Jiang Xi did not continue searching their souls. Instead, he waved his hand and summoned a wisp of sword light. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Before the remaining 7 nascent soul cultivators of the Mountain Sea Star Trade branch could react, the sword light pierced through their heads and killed them. Because of the soul search just now, he learned that these 7 people were also spies of the White Feather Star Trade. Jiang Xi was so angry that he almost laughed. What was the origin of this White Feather Star Trade? Didn't they know that the Mountain Sea Star Trade was his business? At the same time, Jiang Xi's heart was filled with anger. It was not only because the White Feather Star Trade was so unscrupulous in poaching his people. There was another important reason. He learned through the soul search that the White Feather Star Trade was an illegal interstellar trading group that specialized in selling the gold core and nascent soul of cultivators. This was an industry that was even crueler than the slave trade. The slaves could still survive. The business of selling gold core and nascent soul first needed to cultivate the cultivator to this cultivation level, then kill them and take away their gold core or nascent soul. Or directly kill those cultivators in the gold core stage and nascent soul stage, take their gold core and nascent soul, preserve them with a special method, and sell them to those in need. This was an extremely profitable black industry, especially when they hunted gold core stage and nascent soul stage cultivators with outstanding talent. Their gold core and nascent soul stage cultivators were even more expensive. There were countless humans in the 9 realms of the Tao Alliance. There was no lack of young cultivators who were born noble, rich, and powerful, but had poor talent. Under such circumstances, they could spend a lot of money to buy the gold core and nascent soul of those cultivators with outstanding talent. Then, through a secret technique, they could refine the gold core and nascent soul that they bought into their own. While changing their talent, they could also directly become a nascent soul stage cultivator. This kind of person deserves to die, and this kind of power deserves to die too. Jiang Xi did not want to be a saint. He did not have the time to care. There were many tall cultivators, and he was not a tall cultivator. The problem now was that this so-called White Feather Star Trade actually dared to use the channels of the Mountain Sea Star Trade to do this kind of black business. The golden-haired youth and his group were undercover and controlled the entire Mountain Sea Star Trade branch of the Kalu planet. Their goal was to use the channels of the Mountain Sea Star Trade to buy and sell the gold core and nascent soul of cultivators for the White Feather Star Trade. Jiang Xi could not tolerate this. Beside him, when Lu Chuan also learned about this, his expression changed. Selling the gold core and nascent soul of cultivators? Sir, this is a trade activity prohibited by the Tao Alliance's Heavenly Court. Moreover, this happens to be the responsibility of the Ministry of Supervision. Jiang Xi was expressionless. He first waved his hand to set up a barrier that isolated spiritual sense. Then, he asked in a deep voice, "Is it related to the Ministry of Commerce? I'm not sure. Should we mobilize the Ministry of Supervision's army?" Lu Chuan's tone was uncertain. "The 2 of us are enough." Jiang Xi shook his head. The Ministry of Supervision also had an army of about 10,000 nascent soul cultivators. However, he did not believe these people now. If the White Feather Star Trade was really related to the Ministry of Commerce, as long as he mobilized the Ministry of Supervision's army, it would definitely attract the attention of the Ministry of Commerce. There were not many factions that dared to have designs on the Mountain Sea Star trade in the Blue Star region. The Ministry of Commerce of the Purple Heaven Sex Blue Star region was in charge of all the Purple Heaven Sex commercial activities in the Blue Star region. It just so happened that it had the capital to do so. Of course, this was only Jiangxi's speculation. He could not be completely sure that it was the doing of the Ministry of Commerce. Erase these people's memories, Jiangxi said again. Lu Chuan nodded. He understood Jiangxi's intention. It was to prevent the news from being leaked. Chapter 487. Planet Callow was the headquarters of White Feather Star Trade. This was indeed a desolate planet that had never been registered in the Tao Alliance's heavenly court. There were no interstellar teleportation arrays either, so they could only go there via flying ship. Jiangxi and Lu Chuan arrived at Planet Callow's outer space. Your Excellency, use my flying ship? Lu Chuan waved his hand and took out a black flying ship that emitted an immortal aura. An immortal artifact flying ship? Jiangxi's eyes lit up. You must be joking, Your Excellency. It's only an inferior-grade immortal artifact. With Your Excellency's status, it's very easy for you to buy such a flying ship, Lu Chuan said with a smile. How fast can it reach? Jiangxi asked. It can reach up to 10 times the speed of light, Lu Chuan said as he formed a seal to activate the flying ship. Jiangxi nodded slightly. He usually used interstellar teleportation arrays to travel and rarely used flying ships, so he had never thought of upgrading them. The flying ship he was using was still a supreme-grade spirit artifact. Its maximum speed was 3 times the speed of light. Compared to Lu Chuan's immortal artifact flying ship, there was a difference. It was very difficult to increase speed. Although there was only a difference of 3 times the speed of light and 10 times the speed of light, when it came to interstellar travel, the difference was like heaven and earth. This was because when an object's speed reached the speed of light, it would enter the source space. The distance ratio between the source space and the primal universe was 1/3600. In other words, flying 1 light-year in the source space was equivalent to crossing 3,600 light-years in the primal universe. Based on a year's time, flying 3 light-years in the source space at 3 times the speed of light was 10,800 light-years in the primal universe. Flying 10 light-years in the source space at 10 times the speed of light was 36,000 light-years in the primal universe. Therefore, the difference between these two speeds wasn't as simple as 10-3, which was equivalent to 7 light-years. Instead, it was a difference of 25,200 light-years. I should get one if I have the time. After all, not every planet has an interstellar teleportation array. Whether it's traveling or escaping, speed is very important. Jiangxi temporarily remembered this thought. With this thought in mind, Lu Chuan activated the flying ship and entered the source space. The distance between Planet Callow and Planet Callow was more than 30 light-years. Traveling through the source space at 10 times the speed of light would only take a little more than 7 hours. At this time, Jiangxi didn't waste any time. He cultivated in the cultivation cabin of the flying boat. 3 months ago, his sword principle had broken through to the sword intent level. As the clone continued to refine the Fey fruits, the level of the sword intent experience had also increased to the 10th level of perfection recently. Tao technique, sword intent, 10 levels, 1 billion, amplitude, 20,000 times sword intent. A spirit power amplitude of 20,000 times, a body that's 10 times stronger than a supreme-grade spirit tool, and a spirit sense that's as strong as a mid-stage Tao integration cultivator. In summary, my combat prowess should be at the level of a Tao integration stage super mighty figure. Jiangxi's eyes shone with a scorching light. Then, he continued to deduce the Gale, Ignis, and Vajra Das. While he was cultivating, Lu Chuan had been guarding outside the cultivation cabin. He was a loyal guard. As expected of a core disciple at the 4th firmament. He doesn't give up on any opportunity to cultivate. Lu Chuan sighed inwardly. Since he was able to become a 3rd tribulation transcender, he was naturally considered a genius when compared to the vast majority of cultivators. However, compared to Jiangxi, he was far inferior. The black flying ship that was enveloped by the array formation constantly shuttled through the source space that was filled with 7 colored streams of light at 10 times the speed of light. More than 7 hours later, Lu Chuan's gaze flickered as he formed a seal with both hands. The flying ship immediately slowed down and left the source space. Jiang Xi also sensed the changes in speed and space. He ended his cultivation and walked out of the cultivation cabin. The boundless starry sky in front of him was barren. There were not many stars in sight. However, when he spread out his spiritual sense, he discovered that there was a distant star in the starry sky. 40,000 kilometers away, there was a lonely planet orbiting a star that was about to decay. Your Excellency's spiritual sense is actually so strong! Lu Chuan sensed the strength of Jiang Xi's spiritual sense, and was filled with surprise. He originally wanted to remind him, but he didn't expect Jiang Xi to also discover the planet. This is indeed a hidden place. Even the most experienced starry sky wanderer would easily overlook this part of the starry sky, Riverwood said. They have 1 late-stage Dao integration cultivator and 2 early-stage Dao integration cultivators. With such strength, unless they encounter an immortal, anyone who comes will die. Lu Chuan shook his head. The spiritual sense of a third tribulation transcender was even clearer than that of Jiang Xi. As for interstellar hunters, their cultivation levels were generally not high. It was very rare to see early-stage Dao integration cultivators, so they would definitely die if they came. Let's go and save her first before dealing with this bunch of trash, Jiang Xi sneered. His actual combat strength was invincible at the Dao integration realm. He alone was enough to crush the entire White Feather planet. Even if there were any accidents, Lu Chuan could resolve them with a slap. When they had used their spiritual senses to investigate just now, they had already confirmed Wen Yoxin's location. She was hiding in a prison in a palace on planet Callow. Then, the flying ship carried out another short teleportation, traversing 40,000 kilometers. Jiang Xi and Lu Chuan silently descended on planet Callow. There were natives on this desolate planet. Ever since planet Callow was occupied by White Feather Planet 30,000 years ago, the natives had become captive slaves. The natives followed the rules set by White Feather Planet to reproduce, cultivate, and eliminate. Among them, the outstanding natives would grow into golden core and nascent soul cultivators. For 30,000 years, under the control of White Feather Planet's public opinion, the natives did not know of the hidden scam. They simply thought that the growth path that White Feather Planet had set for them was an opportunity to step into the starry sky. Little did they know that from the moment they were chosen, they had become goods. They were destined to have their golden cores or nascent souls taken away and live a sad life. At this moment, on a 10,000-meter tall mountain in the Xishan tribe, I've finally cultivated to the perfected golden core stage. The next step is to break through to the nascent soul stage. At that time, I can join the White Feather Palace, walk out of this planet, and become a powerhouse of the universe. Maka jumped down from the mountain peak excitedly and flew into the air. He was a genius of the Xishan tribe. He had only cultivated for 80 years and reached the perfected golden core stage. The goal that White Feather Palace had set for him was to cultivate to the nascent soul stage. After returning to the tribe, Maka was surprised to find that the tribe leader was waiting for him at home. Accompanying the tribe leader was an enchanting female cultivator in white armor. When Maka saw the female cultivator's figure and appearance, he immediately blushed. Their tribe did not have such a beautiful woman. Even his sister, who did not speak, could not compare to this female cultivator. Maka, this is Lord Lien of White Feather Palace, the old tribe leader introduced with a smile. Greetings, Lord Lien. Maka bowed with a red face. Maka, congratulations. After our White Feather Palace's comprehensive inspection, we believe that you are now qualified to join the White Feather Palace in advance. Are you willing? Lord Lien smiled. Yes, I'm willing. Maka did not even think and immediately agreed. Stepping into the starry sky had always been his dream. Good, go and say goodbye to your family. Lord Lien nodded. There was nothing unusual about this series of procedures. Before joining the White Feather Palace, it was normal for the natives to say goodbye to their family. This was because the White Feather Palace believed that spontaneous cultivation with a goal was faster than forced cultivation. They had to do their best to ensure that there were no accidents at all during the collection of goods. If there were any accidents, this scam could be seen through. If the natives knew that they were just a group of captive slaves, they would definitely resist. At that time, there would be another wave of massacre. These slaves were all wealth. It would be a pity to kill them in advance. Chapter 488. Maka left home with a face full of joy. He boarded Lord Lien's ferry boat and flew towards Bayou Palace. But he felt uneasy. When he said goodbye to his family, his sister, who usually did not speak, did not say anything this time. She only drew a symbol on his palm when they hugged. This was their secret when they were young. The symbol represented caution. Why did my sister remind me to be careful? Is there danger in joining Bayou Palace? Maka became alert. But he hid it well and did not show it. In Maka's heart, his sister was definitely an intelligent person. Her cultivation talent was even higher than his. Later on, there was an accident that destroyed his sister's spirit root. Her cultivation was forever stuck at the late stage of spirit nurture. Even the Lord of Bayou Palace could not cure his sister's spirit root. And from then on, his sister did not speak anymore. It was as if she had become mute. It's better to be careful, Maka secretly reminded himself. He maintained a happy expression on his face. The ferry boat flew all the way. He followed Lord Lien and arrived above an ocean. This is the legendary Bayou Palace and Bayou Sea? Maka opened his eyes wide in shock. In front of him was a vast ocean. The ocean water rolled up layers of white waves. In the sky above the Bayou Sea, there was a huge palace floating. It was 100 times bigger than their Sishan tribe. This was the sacred place of Kalostar, Bayou Palace. How spectacular! Maka's throat moved. He was stunned. This was the world of his dreams. At this moment, the yearning and desire in his heart rose to the highest level. After entering Bayou Palace, Lord Lien arranged for Maka to stay in a side hall on the 3rd floor. You can stay here for now. Once we gather 100 people, I will send you off, Lord Lien said and left. Maka noticed that this enchanting Lord Lien's attitude suddenly became cold. The indifference in his eyes was as if he was looking at a corpse. If one did not observe carefully, one would not be able to tell. But because of his sister's warning, he had already noticed all of this. There really is a problem. Maka felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over him. The yearning, desire, and excitement in his heart instantly disappeared at this moment. He heard a noise. He then noticed that there were already more than 30 people in this side hall. They were all in the perfected golden core realm. Looking at their clothes, it was obvious that they were from the other tribes of Kalostar. Everyone was enthusiastically chatting with each other, imagining the day when they would step into the starry skies and become a legend in the universe. Maka did not express his thoughts. He joined the discussion with a smile on his face, but the string in his heart was still tense. What should we do? There's no way I can escape. His thoughts raced as he grew more and more desperate. It wasn't just that Lord Lien's cultivation was unfathomable. He observed carefully and found that the lowest cultivation level of the white-armored warriors walking in the hall was at the golden core stage. Most of them were at the nascent soul stage. Furthermore, there were 2 nascent soul stage cultivators standing guard outside the side hall. He was only at the full foundation of the golden core stage. It was impossible for him to break out of this place. Just as Maka was starting to panic and fall into despair, Lord Lotus arrived at the 6th floor of the Bayou Palace. On this floor lived an amiable white-haired old man. He was the 3rd elder of White Feather Star Trade. 3rd elder, Maka from the Sishan tribe has been brought here. Lord Lien bowed respectfully. He didn't notice anything unusual, did he? 3rd elder nodded. No. Lord Lien shook his head and smiled. So what if he noticed something? He's about to die. Ah, Lien, you're wrong about that. 3rd elder's expression was serious. Lord Lien was stunned. He didn't understand. Among the 300-plus barren planets that our white feather star trade has taken over, Maka's cultivation talent is the best. If it wasn't for a direct descendant of an ancient family who insisted on buying his golden core, we wouldn't have killed the goose that lays the golden egg. We could have waited for him to reach the nascent soul stage before selling it. Third Elder explained. Is the buyer very important? Lord Lien asked. Very important. It's an immortal family. That's why we have to pay special attention to Maka's condition. We can't let him resist before he dies. Third Elder said. Lord Lien then realized that if Slave One resisted before he died, the quality of the golden core or nascent soul stage would be lowered. When the buyer fused with it, the success rate would be lowered. Since the person who wanted Maka's talent had such an important background, they had to be careful. If something went wrong, the white feather star trade couldn't afford to offend them. Go to the prison and take a look at the goods that were brought back yesterday. The female cultivator in the lead has comprehended the leaf fire domain. Her nascent soul can be sold for a high price. Third Elder said. Yes. Lord Lien bowed and left. At this moment, Third Elder's expression changed. Not good. Someone broke into the prison. The prison's array formation was activated. Boom! The huge white feather palace shook violently. White armor guards, gather! A loud shout came from the 9th floor of the white feather palace. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, 100,000 white armor cultivators flew out of the white feather palace. Outside the side hall on the 3rd floor, the white-armored warrior guarding the door also left. Maka knew that this was his last chance. He didn't care about the shock of the other tribes and rushed out of the palace. Boom! But he was stopped by the array. Before he could try again, he was shocked by the scene outside the palace. Above the white feather palace, there were 2 figures that looked like gods and demons. They stood in the air, emitting a powerful aura that made people's faces change color. Oh my God, who are they? They actually dared to go against the white feather palace? The other tribes were shocked. They must be very strong. They are like the gods and demons in the legends. Someone praised. I think they are overestimating themselves. The white feather palace has protected the Kalos star for tens of thousands of years. They are extremely powerful. Just the 2 of them want to challenge them? They are simply sending themselves to death. Someone spoke up for the white feather palace. Maka didn't say a word. Hearing everyone's discussion, he only felt that it was very sad. He had to admit that the white feather palace's scam was too good. It had almost fooled everyone. Of course, there were definitely people who discovered the white feather palace's true colors. Some people resisted and died. Therefore, no news was spread. Some people remained silent, just like his sister who didn't speak. Maka was in despair. Although he didn't know what was hidden under the white feather palace's scam. He knew that in this situation, it seemed like he could only wait for death. His only hope now was that the 2 of them could defeat the powerful white feather palace. But just like what everyone had said earlier, this was completely overestimating one's capabilities. Chapter 489. Savage Life Planet, Kalos Star. The huge Bayou Palace floated above the White Sea. At this moment, the 2 sides were facing each other in the sky. On one side were 2 godlike figures. Jiang Xiai and Lu Chuan exuded powerful auras. On the other side was the army of the Bayou Palace. There were 3 Dao integration cultivators, including 1 at the late stage and 2 at the early stage. In addition, there were 100,000 white armor guards. The weakest among them was at the golden core stage. The late-stage Dao integration cultivator in the lead was the Bayou Palace's first elder, Yan Qi. He was also the leader of Bayou Star Trade. Yan Qi, who looked like a young man, was wearing white armor and looked rather handsome. However, his current expression was not good. He was a little terrified, and his anger had disappeared without a trace. How can there be an immortal? Bayou Star Trade has always been careful and has never offended a large faction. How can it attract the attention of an immortal? The first person Yan Qi noticed was the 3 Tribulation Transcender, Lu Chuan. This situation made him in a dilemma. This was because even if the 100,000 white armor guards of Bayou Palace attacked together, they would not be a match for this immortal. In front of an immortal, they were like ants. They were not enough to kill. Yan Qi quickly made a judgment of the situation and decided to lower his head. He bowed respectfully. Yan Qi greets the exalted immortal. As soon as he said that, the expressions of everyone in Bayou Palace changed. It was actually a legendary immortal. The 100,000 white armor guards also bowed respectfully and shouted, "Greetings, exalted immortal!" The huge commotion spread throughout the entire White Sea. In the side hall on the third floor of Bayou Palace, Maka's eyes widened. He really saw hope. "We're saved!" But in the next moment, an even more shocking scene appeared. The high and mighty immortal took a step back and was half a step behind the black-haired youth. He said, "If you want to bow, bow to my lord. This is Elder Jiang Xi of the Purple Heaven Sect's Azure Branch." There was a brief silence in the sky above Bayou Palace. The expression on the handsome face of Yan Qi, the leader of Bayou Star Trade, changed drastically. Jiang Xi. He took a closer look and finally recognized him. Of course, Yan Qi also knew about Jiang Xi, because in the past 100 years, White Feather Star Trade had been using the Mountain Sea Star Trade to buy and sell golden cores and nascent souls. The Mountain Sea Star Trade was Jiang Xi's property, which was known to all the major forces in the Kanglan Star region. In the 9 regions genius competition 200 years ago, Jiang Xi's image had spread across the entire Blue Star region. However, after 200 years, Jiang Xi's image and temperament had changed a lot. That was why he didn't recognize Jiang Xi immediately. Now that she recognized him, Yan Qi didn't dare to be negligent. She bowed respectfully again. "Greetings, Lord Jiang Xi." At the same time, he was trying to guess the purpose of Jiang Xi's visit. Could it be that he's here to condemn me? However, Jiang Xi was high and mighty. He was one of the few people with the highest status in the entire Blue Star region. There was no need for him to denounce him for such a trivial matter, right? The Mountain Sea Star Trade was a big business. He had only used the channels of the Mountain Sea Star Trade to sell some golden core and nascent soul cultivators. From this, it could be seen that in Yan Qi's eyes, golden core and nascent soul cultivators were just ants. They could be traded and weren't worth paying attention to. In the face of Yan Qi's respectful greeting, Riverward ignored her. He just looked at Yan Qi expressionlessly. In his eyes, Yan Qi was already a dead man. However, he didn't attack immediately. The reason was simple. The White Feather Palace wasn't simple. When he was saving people just now, he discovered that the array formation of the White Feather Palace was actually an immortal array formation. Furthermore, with Lu Chuan's strength as a third tribulation transcender, he couldn't break this array formation even with his full strength. Even the White Feather Palace had been specially refined. Under the attack just now, it only shook violently and wasn't damaged at all. According to Lu Chuan's judgment, the expert who refined the White Feather Palace and set up the immortal array formation was at least a 6th tribulation transcender. This meant that there was an unknown immortal behind the White Feather Palace. Of course, even if it was a 6th tribulation transcender, Jiang Xi wasn't afraid. It wasn't like he didn't have a backer. The main thing was that his main mission here was to save people. He had to save Wen Yoxing first before dealing with this group of trash in front of him. The key to opening the array formation now lay with Yan Qi. "Yan Qi, do you know your crime?" Jiang Xi asked coldly. "I know my crime." Yan Qi didn't dare to refute. "Where is the crime?" Jiang Xi asked. "I shouldn't have sold the golden cores and nascent souls of cultivators. I committed a heinous crime," Yan Qi said honestly. Although he was unwilling, he didn't dare to show it. "That's all?" Jiang Xi sneered. Yan Qi was puzzled. "It seems like you still don't know what mistake you've made. It's true that selling the golden cores and nascent souls of cultivators is a capital offense. However, you missed out on one thing. You touched my people and my business. This is also a capital offense," Jiang Xi shouted coldly. "Lord Jiang Xi, I only borrowed the Mountain Sea Star Trades channel. I didn't dare to touch your people. Yanqi shook his head and denied it. He knew very well that the White Feather Star trade was definitely finished this time. His life might not be guaranteed. Unless his master intervened, only then would he be able to save his life. The prerequisite was that he couldn't bear too many crimes and grudges. According to the laws of the Tao Alliance's heavenly court, selling golden cores and nascent souls was indeed a capital offense. However, there was still room for negotiation. Borrowing the Mountain Sea Star Trades channel seemed to have offended Jiang Xi and formed a grudge. However, on the other hand, this was also a good thing. Because as long as his master intervened, Jiang Xi would give him face and not pursue the matter too much. Perhaps the two sides could even use this opportunity to establish a relationship. However, if he touched Jiang Xi's people, he would have offended Jiang Xi greatly. That would be even more troublesome. You didn't touch my people? Jiang Xi sneered. Open your prison! Yanqi's heart thumped as he realized that something was wrong. Then, he recalled how Jiang Xi had forcefully broken into the White Feather Palace's prison. His heart instantly sank. How could this be? He had repeatedly emphasized not to clash with the Mountain Sea Star Trades people. Could it be that someone had disobeyed this order and captured the Mountain Sea Star Trades people? Old Third! Yanqi shouted. The White Feather Star Trades Third Elder trembled and flew over from behind. The originally amiable Third Elder's face was now pale. What's going on? Yanqi asked. Yesterday, a Mountain Sea Star Trades patrol team discovered that we had tampered with the Kalu Star. Those people's cultivations were at most mid-stage nascent soul. I thought they weren't important people. The early-stage Tao integration Third Elder knew that he had caused a great disaster. Yanqi's expression changed. It seemed that they had really captured an important person of the Mountain Sea Star trade. He thought that since Jiang Xi and that immortal couldn't break the White Feather Palace's immortal Tao formation, perhaps this was his bargaining chip to survive. After a quick consideration, Yanqi made up his mind and said, Lord Jiang Xi, this is a complete misunderstanding. If Lord Jiang Xi agrees to spare my life, I will immediately open the prison. Chapter 490. Are you threatening me? Jiang Xi raised his eyebrows. I wouldn't dare. Please live. Yanqi went all out. He was betting that the people in the prison were very important to Jiang Xi. Otherwise, Jiang Xi would have taken action long ago. Spare you? Jiang Xi laughed. He was both angry and amused. That's impossible, but I can give you a chance. If you defeat me, you can leave alive. Yanqi's eyes lit up. That was enough. He looked at Lu Chuan again and said, This exalted immortal beside me can't kill me either. Lu Chuan won't attack, Jiang Xi said. Lord Jiang Xi, please swear a heavenly Tao oath. Yanqi gritted his teeth. You don't have the right to bargain. Either you die now or you fight with me. Also, don't think too highly of yourself. I don't want to play tricks with you. Jiang Xi shook his head. Yanqi fell silent. Although Jiang Xi's words were unpleasant, he had made a fact clear. A core disciple of the Purple Firmament sect at the Fourth Firmament indeed disdained to play tricks with him. Then, he formed a hand seal and opened the array formation barrier of the White Feather Palace. When Yoshin and a few surviving Mountain Sea Star Trade Patrol employees flew out of the prison, they were also paying attention to this confrontation. Uncle Granduncle. When Yoshin bowed excitedly. It's fine. Step aside. Jiang Xi smiled and said to Lu Chuan, Protect them. Lu Chuan nodded and retreated thousands of kilometers away with Wen Yoshin and the others. This third tribulation transcender was also very helpless. Who knew that such an accident would happen? An unknown illegal star trade group actually had an immortal Tao expert who was at least a sixth tribulation transcender behind them. Even he couldn't break the immortal Tao array formation setup. Before they rescued the person, he and Jiang Xi were somewhat afraid of taking action. Otherwise, they would have taken action just now. Why would they bother dealing with Yanqi? Everyone from the White Feather Palace also retreated thousands of kilometers. In the sky above the White Sea, only Jiang Xi and Yan Qi were left facing each other. Sir Jiang Xi, please excuse me. Yan Qi's eyes were brimming with fighting spirit. A strange-looking crescent blade appeared in her hand. There were 5 rings on the blade. This was a battle of life and death. He had to win. He did not underestimate Jiang Xi just because Jiang Xi was in the primordial soul stage. He knew very well that this young genius at the pinnacle of the universe definitely had the strength to fight beyond his level. Son! Jiang Xi also took out the Red Heaven sword, and his sword intent spread out for tens of thousands of kilometers. This space seemed to have become a world of swords. Sword intent. Yan Qi was shocked. Lu Chuan, who was thousands of kilometers away, was even more shocked than Yan Qi. He could clearly sense that Jiang Xi's sword intent had reached perfection. The strength of this Taoist technique had far surpassed that of a third tribulation transcender. He was also relieved. He was originally prepared to make a move at any time, but now it seemed that Jiang Xi could handle it alone. Looks like I'll have to reveal this trump card. Yan Qi's expression was extremely grim. 1. She gently waved the full moon scimitar in her hand, and late-stage Tao integration spiritual power surged. At the same time, she summoned a Taoist technique with her spiritual sense. The power of 5 Taoist runes spiraled out in a strange manner. With the help of the 5 rings on the full moon scimitar, they actually fused together, forming an even stronger power of Taoist runes. This power directly dispersed Jiang Xi's sword intent. 5 elements Taoist technique. Jiang Xi's expression changed. This Yan Qi had actually walked an additional path of Taoist techniques than him. Furthermore, it happened to be a 5 elements Taoist technique. It perfectly reinforced and restrained each other, turning into a new kind of power, the power of the 5 elements. In this way, Yan Qi's strength was not as simple as a late-stage Tao integration cultivator. She might even be invincible in the Tao integration realm. With your talent, you are definitely at the level of a core disciple of the 3 gates and 6 sects. Why didn't you enter the 3 gates and 6 sects to cultivate? Instead, you came to do this kind of shady business? Jiang Xi did not understand. Because I obtained this by refining someone else's nascent soul. The original owner of this nascent soul was a true genius. He comprehended all 5 elements Taoist techniques at the nascent soul stage. Unfortunately, he was just an aboriginal and did not even have the chance to enter the universe. Yan Qi said matter-of-factly. Realization dawned on Jiang Xi. At the same time, the killing intent in his heart intensified. This was because he was also an aboriginal. If that's the case, you can die now. Jiang Xi shouted coldly. He slashed out with his sword. A green lotus of sword Tao appeared. Spiritual power surged wildly and condensed into a soaring sword intent. It was as if it was going to break open the heavens. Yan Qi did not dare to be careless. Her full moon scimitar drew an arc in the air. Under the fusion of the 5 elements Taoist technique, the power of the 5 elements formed a huge rune diagram. Boom, boom, boom! The sword intent collided with the rune diagram, and a huge impact spread out. This space collapsed. Huge waves of 10,000 meters high rose from the White Sea, and the islands in the sea exploded one after another. Moving mountains and overturning seas. The huge commotion shocked everyone. Jiang Xi and Yan Qi were also sent flying by the impact. They lost control of their bodies. After this attack, the 2 sides were actually evenly matched. No, Yan Qi had the upper hand. Under the powerful impact, he was less affected than Jiang Xi. Lord Jiang Xi, it seems that I have won this battle. Yan Qi laughed loudly. He first got rid of the impact and slashed out with his scimitar. He knew that he could not kill Jiang Xi, so he deliberately held back 30% of his strength. However, he believed that even with 70% of the power of the 5 elements, he could defeat Jiang Xi. The next moment, he was stunned. Clang! The power of the 5 elements that could cause space to collapse landed on Jiang Xi, who was sent flying backward, and actually produced a huge tremor. As for Jiangxi's body, only a wound that was less than an inch deep was left. Impossible! Yan Qi roared angrily. He was in despair. Streams of force of the 5 elements were unleashed, filling the sky. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh! Like arrows, they all shot towards Jiangxi. Although his Tao of the 5 elements were at the level of the Tao of heaven and earth, the power of the 5 elements formed after fusing the full moon's scimitar. He had crossed a major realm and reached the level of the great Tao. Whoosh! Jiangxi held the red heaven sword. Instead of retreating, he advanced and merged with the sword. Under the soaring sword intent, he broke through the power of the 5 elements one after another. With his tyrannical body, even if he was hit by the power of the 5 elements, he would not be hurt too much. This shameless fighting style made Yan Qi even more desperate. Impossible! I will not die here! Yan Qi's desire to live was very strong. The full moon scimitar once again released the power of the 5 elements. Clang! It still did not break through Jiangxi's body defense. At this moment, Jiangxi came in front of Yan Qi. Sorry, your Tao technique is indeed very strong. The power of the 5 elements after the fusion of the 5 elements is even comparable to the power of the perfected sword intent. It's a pity that my body can only be damaged by immortal weapons. Jiangxi also chuckled and stabbed out with his sword. The sword intent flashed and disappeared in the air, piercing through Yan Qi's head. Of course, it was not so easy to kill a late-stage Tao integration realm cultivator. Jiangxi still had many unanswered questions. He took a step forward and arrived in front of Yan Qi, who was on the verge of death. Before Yan Qi's primordial spirit dissipated, he used the soul-searching technique. Don't even think about it! Yan Qi growled and wanted to struggle. With his late-stage Tao integration realm primordial spirit, he could indeed resist Jiangxi's soul-searching. Humph! Jiangxi slashed again. The supreme-grade immortal weapon, Red Heaven's Sword, easily cut off more than half of Yan Qi's primordial spirit. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.